everybody, and welcome to The Deepest Dive, the best, most thorough discussion about Clair Obscur, Expedition 33 on the internet. We are MinnMax. Thank you for being here. My name is Ben Hansen, and I'm personally thanking you for being here. I'm joined by one Jacob Geller.
For those who come after.
I'm joined by Kelsey Lewin.
Je suis Kelsey.
Hey.
Extend to my French.
And a big bonjour to Haley McLean.
Bonjour, salut.
So impressive. She got a beret, audio listeners. It's really humbling the rest of us with how much she's leaning into this. Here's a question off the bat. We're going to get into a lot of stuff. It has been so long since a game has so closely identified with the region it was developed. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think. It's like Chia.
Japan does that all the time.
I guess, but maybe we're just used to it.
Yakuza. Persona game, Yakuza game.
You're right. Maybe we're just used to it with Japan. Of course, Japan. But it's like, it just feels so novel that we collected hundreds and hundreds of comments on Patreon for The Deepest Dive, and so many of them are like, France, right? Like, it's refreshing and fun to see like developers embrace their culture as bigly as they did for Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
I mean, and I think part of it is the French culture is a culture that's very easy to parody, and it seems like they are both embracing it and parodying it at the same time.
Yes, it is an interesting line to walk here, but welcome. This is a huge 3-part game club discussion on Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This is the first of 3 discussions. So in this discussion, we're covering everything in the game up until you get the 4th character. We're not spoiling anything after you get the 4th character. We're going to be...
And the campfire discussion?
Great point. Right? We'll explain that because the way we phrased it, which is, I think, Jacob's astute point of it's a great spoiler-free thing to point out that this discussion is everything up until you get that 4th character. But then I was like, oh, that campfire right when you get back to the world map, after you get that 4th character, it feels really important. So we're going to cover that as well. But we'll give you a heads up when we're going to be covering just that little tail end on this whole thing because it's important here. But the way this works is we are a community-funded outlet here at MinnMax. We like doing The Deepest Dive, which are our huge game club discussions. This exists because of your support over on Patreon. If you jump in at any tier on Patreon, you go to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Jump in at any tier, you can submit a comment for us to read on future discussions for The Deepest Dive. We're covering this entire game, and we want to read your comments, your thoughts, your contributions to the great hive mind that is experiencing Clair Obscur Expedition 33 together. It's a single-player game, but we can make it a multiplayer event, because if you support us on Patreon, you can submit your comments for us to read during these discussions. But then I think secretly, quietly, more importantly, is there's a Discord channel you get access to if you support us at even that $2 tier, and that is truly The Deepest Dive. That channel is popping. People are putting spoiler walls and gates over all of the spoiler discussions. It's just a lot of good gameplay tips. Like, Haley, community manager, back me up. That channel's amazing, right?
Superb.
Okay. All right. Here we go, everybody. But
we're going to run out eventually.
The whole episode's going to be like this.
I hope not. But on top of that, if you jump in and support MinnMax at the $5 tier, you unlock the bonus podcast feed. So if you want to help support independent games media directly, no giant corporation over us, and get the podcast version of this very episode and all of The Deepest Dives and early access to the MinnMax show and Haley's bonus pod, the Patreon exclusive podcast, all that stuff. If you jump in at the $5 tier, you unlock that bonus podcast feed, which is the podcast version of all of The Deepest Dives for your convenience. And as a special bonus, everybody, if you jump in at the $5 tier, you jump in as a new supporter or you upgrade to that $5 tier before Monday, May 5th, we will DM you on Patreon with a Steam code for Indica. Indica. If you like Clair Obscur, you might enjoy some fascinating, mature storytelling in your games, and few examples can top Indica from last year. Technically, MinnMax's 12th favorite game, according to the 210s. Leo's number 2, Haley's number 8. I just went back and looked at it. It's a game we all love. So you can jump in, support us, and we'll DM you on Patreon with that Steam code for Indica. We have 200 Steam codes to give away, and we will message on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, Discord when we're completely out of code. So check out for those social media updates. Otherwise, jump in or upgrade to that $5 tier. Unlock the podcast version of The Deepest Dive. Contribute directly to the success of Deepest Dive. Help spread the word. Unlock the podcast version. Join the Discord. All that fun stuff. We appreciate you all supporting this directly. And shout out to 11-Bit and the developers at Oddmeter for sharing Indica with more folks, because that game truly rules as well. We collected so many comments on Patreon, everybody. Hundreds and hundreds of comments from people over there on Patreon. We like to play a game with the deepest dive, which is most common comment. Try and guess what most people were wanting to talk about when it comes to roughly the first third, realistically kind of the opening hours of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 here.
And we're not including France, right?
No, I guess, hang on, I'll put that on the list. It's not at the top, but that's certainly on the list.
Just think how engaging the general premise is.
General premise. Okay, thank you, Haley. Kelsey?
I guess.
I think it's that parrying is hard.
Interesting. Love it. Now, that's because you wanted to just type that 300 times yourself? Or?
Yeah, I actually submitted it myself at least 30 times. So.
Okay. All right. We'll count it. Jacob?
My guess was going to be parrying is hard, but I'll say unexpected humor. Maybe the gestural specifically.
Very good. Very good. Gestrals were in the top heap. Just loving the gestrals in general. No, it was all over the place. I think if I had to boil it down to most common comment, it was kind of a combination of loving the intro, prologue, and people being surprisingly emotional at kind of the opening, the end of the prologue. I think that was the general arena for what the most people were most excited to talk about.
Did you guys cry?
Yes.
I got a little choked up. I don't think it was full tears.
Actual
Really? The first scene?
The prologue?
The prologue.
Yeah, is that surprising to you, Jacob?
I'm glad, and I think it's awesome, but like, it's so little time to get really invested in someone, and yet it's awesome
Jacob,
that it works.
Everything makes me cry, but especially genocide, okay? So
a reasonable thing.
No, I mean, Chris in Chicago is really with us on Patreon. They said they only needed like 15 minutes to actually get me to care about a relationship. I think the fact that it was already fractured made it easier to buy in general for Sophie and Gustav here. I think so much of it is the music, them just cranking that music, but just the roller coaster ride of this prologue to go so quickly from like, Jesus Christ, that's a gut punch, to then this triumphant Independence Day speech of them going out on the expedition and then another gut punch from
Saving
hell.
Private Ryan.
Yeah, it is so dense. It is, I don't know, Kelsey, as a big fan of JRPGs and RPGs in general, I mean, what do you think about this prologue structure in general, all that fun stuff?
Oh, it's fantastic. I'll get into my thesis that this game is just Xenoblade Chronicles 3 again later, but this is not in a bad way. It's one of my favorite games of all time. That was probably one of the most effective, engaging first hour and a half of a game in not just for JRPGs, like just for games in general. It was really, really impressive.
Yeah. Haley, how's it sit with you?
I love the start of it. It's so easy to explain it. Even I was talking to my mom and she's like, what are you playing these days? Because now The Last of Us is a show. So she, thinks games could actually have stories. It took a while, but we're finally getting there.
Is this before or after you begged her for the beret to borrow?
Oh, no, she took me into her walk-in closet. We got to look at all her berets. She didn't have a red one. I was a little upset. I was like, if you had a red one, it would be perfect. I showed her a picture of Sophie. She said, I don't have a red one. And so we had to go with brown, but it was the nicest shade of brown. She had a few different shades. Anyways, my mom loves France. She's been to Paris a few times, if you can't tell by the fact that she has multiple berets. But I love that they didn't do the 5 years or like 3 months earlier. Like, I love that it was just like this happened and then they're on the boat and they're going, because I think that would have really ruined the forward momentum of, okay, Sophie's gone, now time to get on a boat, bye, like energy that really shoved everything into the forefront, to the fact that when you got to the beach and all that was happening, like I could very much see less talented people in narrative having like the beach scene and then being like 2 days earlier and then showing, you know what I mean, and muddling it a bit.
Yeah.
But I thought the flow of it was really good.
This game in general does such a good job of really not revealing too much about what's going on, and you just kind of naturally pick it up over time, and there's never you never have those awkward scenes where it's like, hey, good to see you, my brother, who we shared, this this situation with 5 years ago, and let's talk about that for a while now. Like, it really does just kind of
one trivia guy who kind of does that, but even that is like played as a joke.
Well, even I think maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I felt like that maybe was like a nod to like Final Fantasy VIII, which also has like a quiz about the world at the beginning of like GF stands for Garden Fighter, and it's like I know these developers love 8, so my mind was immediately there with that. But it's clunky, but I think it's fun and it totally works.
I thought there was like a few fun things to read into, like even the fact that you see his sister. It's like, oh, I haven't seen you in like a year or whatever. It's like, of course you wouldn't get attached to your family in a world where you know you're gonna die anyways. Like, why would you bother? You know what I mean? Like, you'd almost want to distance yourself from people you love because you're just gonna lose them soon anyways. I was like, that's interesting too. A lot of subtle stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a continuous like thing that I was worried about that the game kept proving me wrong on is I kind of just kept waiting for a conversation to be bad. You know, like it's like when Gustav meets Sophie and it's like, okay, here's going to be like an awkward relationship conversation. And I was like, I know how awkward relationship conversations in video games typically work. And there's just so much kind of like texture and like nuance in how they're communicating with each other that feels very naturalistic and just kind of like like when they have this kind of awkward conversation and he gives her the flower and she turns and walks away and then they both kind of stop and she's like, do you want to walk me to the pier? And he's like, yes. And it's just like there are a lot of really good acting moments with them. Then I was kind of like, it took a while before I was like, this game knows how to write a conversation well, right, and block it well and have it acted well. And
I'm not taking anything away from the skill of the writing and the performances here, but it's just like, what a killer setup of like reuniting with an ex. The dialogue is basically, I'm okay with dying. Other person's like, I'm not ready to die yet. And then one person dies. Like, that is your dramatic scene, and they knocked it completely out of the park. It's unbelievable. And even just her lines about, you know, like, oh, you're stubborn. You know, stubborn people change the world. You're the most stubborn person I know. There's a lot of just kind of cute little nods there. And there is something, maybe I thought too much about it, but there is something interesting about it being an ex. I'm sure at some point they talked about that idea of like, why wouldn't this just be his girlfriend? What do you get from it being an ex? It's like, double layers of sad, more interesting, but also is there some level of just like less time, but also, I don't know, this sounds brutal for poor Sophie, who I liked, and it did hit me emotionally, but at the same time, it's like, it's quicker to get over. You know, he's not going to be spending the rest of the game, presumably be like, my beautiful fiance, Gomage, right in front of me. It's like, it's brutal, but then even the next day at the celebration, he's like, hey, what's up? You single now? What's going on with you, lady? You know, what happened to Derek over here? It's like, is there something just about kind of the I don't know, cleanliness of an ex dying, Haley?
I actually think it makes we'll just clip that. I think it makes the situation actually like a lot messier in an interesting way that allows them to explore more things, because like one of the first conversations you can have once you gain control of Sophie is with that woman who's kind of like, oh, about to go Maj, and he still don't have kids.
Yes.
And then you kind of learn that like she doesn't outright say it, but she's basically implies like Gustav wanted kids and I did not, and that's why we broke up. And so then it's like, then that's just another thing to think about, is like, what is having kids about in this world, and like, how do people feel about it? And the answer is like, people feel differently, and like people have really different takes on like what you should be doing.
Yeah, I think they did such a good job of setting up, I mean, first of all, an interesting concept, and then really doing the work to like exactly what I would hope for something like this. It's like, how would all types of different people respond to this? There are people who, you know, I thought it was really interesting that like the expeditions themselves are becoming almost like a sad political joke at this point. Like, yeah, we got to keep doing this, but like obviously nothing's going to happen, or it's just going to keep getting worse. And then you have people who really believe in it, and you have people who are, you know, I mean, his sister alludes to like how we're setting things up for the final generation, like the last people who are going to just die at, you know, 5 years old or whatever it is before there's just no more capability of making babies anymore. And just, it's such an interesting, obviously you couldn't talk to like 100 NPCs in this opening area in Lumiere, but like you could talk to just enough people who all had enough little bits of insight into like how humanity would deal with a situation like this.
Yeah.
And I just thought all the writing was really strong right off the bat.
Like the kid who's disconnected from his kid and all that stuff. And it's like, well, it's kind of end of the road. What are you going to do?
A lot of people lean into the arts. So
yeah.
like,
that's interesting.
I want to leave something behind, so I'm just going to make a statue or a painting. Or
Quick, give me
Yeah,
something
though
to
there's
paint.
also that guy who's like, he's like, people don't like painters anymore. It's not like painting is bad. It's just the painter.
Give him a bad rap.
Also, they call everything a paint illusion, and it makes me wonder, like, you know, like in combat, Mayo will be like, let's spill some ink, and everything is like pictos, and you know, everything has to do with paints. But the big bad is a paint. Like, it just makes me wonder, like, where did that start? Like, were people already calling it this, or was that like some weird part of the painters coming to the world, and now instead of blood we have ink? And
yeah, I wonder if it is something like with the fracture, they all just became obsessed with the paintress, but they're already, I don't know, so France inspired. And we should point out, by the way, as I'm glancing over at Jacob, full lay of the land here, we all hit the stopping point. Jacob Geller is the one who was playing this pre-release and was banging the drum of like, this needs to be a deepest dive. This game is so good. Holy cow, there's a lot to unpack with this game. So Jacob has technically rolled credits on the game, but as God is his witness, as the paintress as his witness, he will not be spoiling anything
I eternal
here.
sunshine to myself. I don't remember anything past the stopping point.
Okay, so
all good.
Yeah, no winkies, no hints, no nothing, because it's going to be a lot of speculating. It's kind of the fun thing, is trying to speculate on where this is going. And I mean, Kelsey, what do you understand at this point about like that fracture that happened 67 years ago? That it separated Lumiere from the rest of the world, but is the implication that it was Paris, and then Paris just got thrown out into the ocean?
Harry? I'm confused.
Sorry, a gay Paris?
I don't know if it's literally meant to be France. I think it's just
is.
like,
I mean,
like literal France from the literal Earth that we are literally on.
I think Ryan McGinnis writes in about that. Like, it has the Eiffel Tower, it has the Arc de Triomphe, like it has everything. Is this just France? Like, the fact that they're hitting those, you know, key monuments.
But like our France in 400 years or something.
I would lean that way, knowing nothing. Like, otherwise it's just fantasy world where they have a twisted version of the Eiffel Tower just for the sake of kind of squeezing the influence in. I don't know. Maybe it's too simple. Maybe it's more interesting if it is actually France lunged out into the middle of the ocean. I'm confused.
There's no other references to like Earth as a concept, like our Earth, you know? It's not like, and then, I mean, I guess they do, when you get to the Gestrels, they do talk about those being fairy tales, but I mean, unless that is already a French fairy tale, is that already a French fairy tale?
I don't know. I don't think so. But I mean, it's been 67 years. I think like enough stuff could be forgotten. But I think it was interesting that playing up to the stopping point, then I went back and streamed the first hour of the game again. And I was surprised like how much they kind of seed in there and start to tease it and stuff like that. But that concept of like, oh, Gestrels were kind of like, yeah, fairy tales for them. And even like where you're about to go after the stopping point. What is the name of that giant Sequoia, whatever it is?
Esquier.
Thank you so much, Esquier. That there's a big sculpture of Esquier in the town. And so it makes sense. They're like, oh, Esquier, yeah, I actually want to see this creature. I can't believe it's real. It's like, so I'm curious just what the cultural exchange is. Do you think Gestrels are like mermaids? Like they've seen whispers and hints of them in Lumiere?
I think probably I'm kind of on Kelsey's side that this isn't our Paris, but like a other Paris that used to be attached to a world with Gestrels and Esquier and other things. But now it's been 100 years since they've seen it, and all the people who have site records of those things have been dead for 50 years. So it's kind of just like, it's just a fairy tale story.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that it's like, it's just crazy to think about the generational loss, you know, that just like what would be forgotten if like right now, we cut off everyone over the age of 40 or something, where it's
Right.
like, yeah, a lot of these answers might have been out there and like someone knew, and then they, went off on an expedition or just got gomaged or something. And so like, even if they did exist at some point, who knows? Because it's a bunch of 30-year-olds trying to run the world. And like, personally speaking, I would do a bad job at that.
Oh, come on. Don't put yourself down like that, man. I'm voting for you. I did have a dumb moment of like, like, really, Sophie, you're going to hang out with your ex and like, that's going to be your main point of contact?
There's no one alive left.
But then, yeah, I had a moment of like, well, yeah, I guess her parents couldn't be there. And like, everyone is just like on their own. It's like, sure, let's go. We had a rocky relationship. Good enough. Give me something to look at as I die.
It just like all kind of good concept stories, you just start asking questions of yourself. Because
Yes.
I was like, would it be would people try to not make friends with people who were older than them? Because then they would have to experience, like, if I was this age, would I only make friends with other people who were 33 years old or below, or something like that? Or I'm wondering if you guys had the moment where you did the math on Mael and then you did it wrong.
Yes.
Because you have to deduct it twice because it's
because
and
he
down.
says, Gustav says you have 9 good years left, and I was like, okay, so she's 23, and I was like,
Right.
oh wait, no, she's 16 or 17 or however it works out, because you forget that it's like it's coming from both directions.
Which the, figure on the beach makes you do that math with that little quiz, where that helps you understand that idea that it's coming from both directions. So Mighty Ethan writes in over there on Patreon. They say, hey, how long do you think it took the people of Lumiere to realize what was going on? There can't have been that many 95-plus-year-olds kicking around after the shattering. So how long before people connected the victim's age with the number? I know the expedition started right away, but a giant lady in the distance putting a massive glowing number on an enormous pillar would probably warrant a look-see, even if you didn't know it was killing people. I feel like it might have taken people a good 10 years before they put it together.
No way.
I mean, no, it depends on the population. Yeah, I feel like if you have people who like disappear into petals, and even if there's let's say there's only like 3 95-year-olds in the whole city, but
Right.
only those 3 go, and all at once, it's like, well, that might be it. Those
And
were
they
the
don't
3
just
oldest
go.
people.
They like dissipate into
Right.
dust that flows away. And you know what I didn't clock that took me until I was watching my partner play through the start again was that they don't turn into petals. It's just the petals from their necklaces going up.
Well, I was really analyzing that because they definitely dust away, and it's like it's
but
kind of
there's
a
all
mix.
dust other than that.
It's not clear that the petals are from their rosary, or if it's like, are they putting flowers on them because they naturally
think
turn into
it's
petals?
that.
I think that's a more poetic way of looking at it, and I hope it is, but from animation-wise, it's not clear that like that is where
Oh.
those petals are flying from. I
I
think.
viewed it
It
as
seemed
they
like
gave
it
them
was-
necklaces, so at least if they're dying in this weird way, it looks a little pretty.
Yeah, I think that's a
kind of
nice
what
idea.
I thought it was for.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and I do like
wouldn't that just-
how.
Fall to the ground. Like if you're just wearing a flower necklace, the flower necklace would just go. It wouldn't like explode into petals.
I guess there's wind that also, when you die, the wind
The
goes.
magic of the paintress.
Lumiere, the windy city.
I really like even
Chicago.
the conversation of them being like, this is kind of a sadistic thing to celebrate, right?
Yes.
That like all doing it, and Gustav having like, I got the biggest rose for your necklace. Like I gave you the best flower for your thing.
Yeah, I mean, just setting that hook narratively, though, it is so compelling of like, okay, this is what they do, is they have their big sad day where everyone dies. Well, 33-year-olds die. But at the same time, like, it's not as dramatic and sad maybe as we'd expect, which I want to get into for sure. And then be like, okay, and then the next day, this is when we celebrate the expedition. And this is just kind of the pivot we have to do as a culture, is have this abrupt 180 every single year. And like, the part that killed me is it's just a small little moment, but I think it's Lucian who says it when you get to your big celebration there before setting off on the expedition, where it's like, ha, I told you we'd have more tables than the 34s. Like the fact that they're like competitive on their expeditions, like you just watch so many people die and then you still get right back to just like stupid baseline competitive humanity.
And it
But
was
they've been doing that for 33
That's
years.
the thing, right?
well, no, for 67 years.
Yeah.
Well, the people alive have been
Who are
doing it
alive.
for-
Oh yes, you're
Right,
yeah.
right.
I also had a moment where I was like, when you get to the continent and you see like bodies of other expeditioners, I was like, wow, this seems like way more than we sent. And then I was like, oh yeah, probably when it was like expedition, 60, way more people would have been going, which is the same thing as like the crack about the tables is like it, those first 20, 30 years of expeditions, I bet were like huge numbers. And now it is, now they're filling up 4 tables of people and they get free wine and they're like, win.
Yeah, they get some wine and some cake. It's just, and I like how it's just for morale. Like, of course you do that the second after the gommage happened because you need the people alive to have something to look forward to. It's like, oh, people are going to die, but then there might be a little tiny sliver of hope on Tuesday when everyone leaves. Like, they literally need that for their society to keep going.
We're losing both the 33 and the 32-year-olds.
Yeah, literally.
Rich McLaughlin here said, thinking about the math makes you realize that there aren't many viable expeditions left. People are aging at the same rate the countdown drops, so if a person is 13 at the time of Expedition 33, they'd be part of Expedition 23. Then soon there'll be no one old enough to reproduce, then no one old enough to send on the expeditions. And so there is something interesting about the idea of like just good storytelling of it does feel like it is now or never in every which way. 33 presumably maybe the peak of humanity. I know you all haven't hit that yet, but once you hit 33 in real life, trust me, you're going to feel like Goku going Super Saiyan.
Downhill after that.
Oh man, it's going to be so sweet when you hit it though.
It's going to be my sweet, sweet prime. Wait.
Let's see. What the actual number 33. Omar A writes in and says, any thoughts about the number and age 33? The number has a lot of spiritual connections. In the Islamic faith, everyone will be 33 in heaven, which I did not realize or I forgot.
I didn't know that.
And then also it's the age that Jesus died, I do believe, when he got gomashed. Also kind of funny that most of the characters in the game are millennials.
Sorry, that's really funny. I'm sorry.
It'd be a blessing if Jesus got to get gomashed. Unusual.
He has risen from a gommage.
God, you have made a good game. Unusual for a JRPG to feature characters that are at this age. Still young, but have some maturity and wisdom to them. It's refreshing. Yeah, I think
also a lot of game devs are in their 30s, so that we're probably just seeing a lot of people be like, the number 30 is cool. We're still young. Yeah. 33.
There's an extra oomph to it, but it is like, it's a really good premise and reason for, let's just have our game full of like young hot people who all kind of crushes on each other and it's not going to feel gross. We don't have to have those gross wrinkly gentlemen. Well, except for frickin' one.
Except for one.
Yeah, it's a real problem.
It's a bit of scary wrinkly gentleman.
Yeah. Are you into the relationship drama out of the gate, Haley? I ask you because I watched you stream Rebirth and it's all you talked about as Sephiroth was talking about Meteor and the complexities of multiple timelines.
Yep. Am I right? Sephiroth should be seen, not heard. That's what I think. Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, the writing's so fantastic and I'm playing it in English. I'm curious if French is just as good, but Shadowheart's VA is Maëlle and she's fantastic.
Oh, okay.
She's super good. Everything's very realistic. It's to backtrack to the X thing again. It was very much like, oh yeah, they dated. Like you could just the way in which things are communicated and stuff like that is very good. I don't quite ship anybody, if that's what you're asking. I'm
really?
Not like,
you don't ship nobody at all?
No, not really.
I mean, I feel like Sophie was already kind of shipping people, which Maxwell Magic brings up here. They say, the heart-wrenching intro is almost an instant classic. It does, however, introduce Lune as a sort of other woman to Sophie, who feels like the love of Gustave's life. Cut to the expedition, and I can't help but focus on if Lune and Gustave are romantic interests or not. Low-key, if you watch the ones who got away dissolve in his arms and then immediately hit it off with somebody else, it kind of ruins the awesome intro.
They've been broken up for a while, though. I think she's
safe. I also
safe.
don't really get those vibes from them.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I don't either.
Lune is very icy, not in like a mean way, but like she's not like affectionate or you don't get those like warm romantic vibes between them. She's just very focused on what's going on and very smart and doesn't.
No, it's
she doesn't strike me as like having time for that BS.
Yeah, CL is flirtier in the like 45 seconds we've seen her on screen than Lune is in her entire time.
But
just because Lune's grippers are out 24/7. What's that about?
We don't need to talk about those
that?
grippers.
Well, it's annoying. I don't like staring at them, and then when you're injured, they're all dirty, and I'm like, yuck. Who's this for? That's on purpose.
It's funny because I somehow didn't predict that this was going to be part of the discourse, and I always liked controlling Lune in the overworld just because everyone else is kind of like while they're running around, and she's just so like smooth. And then I was like, oh well, if people saw this, they would think I was doing it because of the feet thing.
No, look, I will defend this because I think that the floating sprinting is like one of the best innovations in running around in a game in a long time. It is just, I refuse to run. I only want to float now. Like, you can feel the difference, you know? You change to a character that runs and you're like kind of, you know, rocks slow you down and stuff, and Luna's
and you can hear them panting.
Yeah.
She's just chilling.
As I say in France, au contraire, Kelsey, I'm in the exact opposite camp. Of the second I saw Lune floating, and I'm not disgusted by feet like Haley, although I'm not too into them like Jacob. I don't know what I'm at the right level.
No, you got those backwards.
I can't tell.
That's not backwards. That sounds right.
I think of feet the normal amount. But like the second I saw her flying, I was like, I don't like this. It feels like some weird no-clip cheat. Like I want to. This is really. Look, we're here to get dorky with the deepest dive. I want to feel grounded to the world. So like, I want some effort.
Okay.
Like Mael, like I want to have that kind of sprinting around and just like kind of.
You just want to see a sweaty 16-year-old girl running around instead?
I said Gustav. Check the tape. I said I want to see Gustav running around. But there's something about like it feels with Lune running around like some World of Warcraft nonsense. It just feels like something that's more disconnected.
Oh, I can kind of see the connection.
Do you know what I mean? There's some feeling there.
It just feels good. If it was like a Skyrim environment where you're trying to go up a mountain and she kind of goes like and is flipping around, maybe. But the fact that it's just like 90% grass and you're just floating around anyways.
I will say maybe I will switch because I have gotten stuck with Gustav twice now in the world map, and I've had to load a previous checkpoint. Has anybody else hit weird bugs of like just getting stuck on rocks and stuff?
I've gotten stuck, but I've been able to unstick myself with jumping.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I should try switching to Sweet Lune.
Set up a camp, or is it in the overworld?
No, inside.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't get that too much. But I will say there are some weird, probably the weakest part of this game is there some like platforming sections that are usually like pretty optional or not whatever, but I actually like doing those with Lune because I feel like I'm not going to hit her at like a weird point in her stride for jump timing, which I don't even know if that's real. I don't know if like there is any difference, but for some reason it makes it easier for me to like do in my head.
Now that you mention it, I think I did that for the same reason, but didn't even know that's why I did that too. Because everyone else, it looked like, and a 1 and a 2 and a and you like misstep.
I will say on the platforming thing, this game is fantastic. And it surprises me every time I encounter something like this because it's so fantastic and looks so good that there are definitely some new studio quirks in here. Like, there's no reason for the platforming. It serves no like purpose in the level design. There's no reason for the grappling hooks. They serve no purpose in the level design. Everything you accomplish with a grappling hook could have just been a bridge. Like, there's no...
Yeah, but it's cool.
I agree with that.
But spend that time on something that makes more... Like, it all just feels like stuff that a team was like, I like grappling hooks, so we're going to have 5 points here where instead of walking, you press square, and it doesn't do anything.
It's shaking it up, I guess. It
makes it feel unreal-y, is what I think. Like, there's so many games that feel like they were made in the Unreal Engine and other games that are made in Unreal Engine and make you forget that it was made in Unreal Engine. And when they do those kind of things like Kelsey's talking about, all I think is, this was made in Unreal, this was made in Unreal every time. And I think in 20 years, we'll look back and be like, oh, look at, like, they'll all have that Unreal Engine vibes because we'll have the... I don't know, Cougar engine or something that doesn't do that.
I agree with... I can't wait for the Cougar engine.
I don't know why that's the word I chose.
I agree with you in that I think like the faces in this look very Unreal metahuman or whatever those things are called. Like, I do think the hallmarks of the engine are there, but I think the grappling hooks are just a net positive because I think it lets them make the environmental design more interesting. And if they had to make it all walkable, then they wouldn't be able to do as much like floating stuff in the air. And it's like the jumping is not great, but at the same time it is. And Ben, I want to know your opinion on this. This game feels like it has a lot of Final Fantasy VII energy to me, not just in that it's like serious and funny and you're playing as a bunch of young hot people, but like there are things that are janky in a way that I find kind of endearing, and the platforming is one of those things where I'm like, yeah, it's bad, but like I never feel like the game is like making me do something for too long that it gets unreasonable. It's just kind of like, it's funny to see these characters jump a little poorly.
Yeah, I think like the parkour challenge stuff on the beach, which we can talk about later, like I did have a moment of, this feels kind of like the frog platforming stuff from Rebirth, but I actually had a different comparison where I think it was in the Gestural Village, where it's like, okay, I'm kind of jumping up these wooden platforms, I'm kind of jumping over a bunch of debris. Like, it doesn't really feel like the type of game that wants me to be able to do this. But then as I climbed a little bit more, I realized like, oh no, that's right. They're so From Software inspired. And the platforming has like a certain From Software comedic edge to it. You know what I mean? Of like,
yes.
you can be jank. That's kind of the fun thing, is go up here, have a good time. You might find an item, or I think like in the Gestural Village, you climb like the really spirally staircase thing. They get to the very top, and there's just like some kid up there, and he's like, "I'm up too high. I might fall." Like that's it. That's the only payoff.
Well,
like,
and the beach.
That's you on the ground again with him.
The beach obstacle course is obviously the best one, because did you guys make it to the top?
Yeah. I mean, you get the swimsuit.
I missed this.
You get a swimsuit.
I missed this too.
Oh, interesting. Yes, there's a whole like parkour challenge thing. Uncle Longfellow.
Is this in Lumiere?
No, it's on the world map.
It's just in one of the locations that you can walk to in the overworld. But it's like
one that you go to for story reasons, or
Nope.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's like a little beach. Is it Northwest, I think? For like the region that we're in.
But it's just like, it's both the best and most meaningless reward, because you just get a swimsuit costume for someone.
I do like the stupid costumes that.
And it's like, it doesn't make you play the game better, but it's funny that you get a swimsuit.
Did you guys get the mime one for Gustav?
No, I don't think I got the.
I missed that one, and I saw everyone with the sunglasses.
Yeah, if you fight a mime I know there's a mime in the first original area before you even leave.
Yeah.
But there's a second mime in the first area after the ship stuff on the left, who's really strong if you're not kind of beefed up a little bit. So I got beefed up and circled back and fought him, and you get like a very stereotypical French shirt with a baguette is like a loaded gun on your back, and then the glasses and beret for Gustav.
Yeah, so first of all, they call these outfits, because there's one for everyone. There's mimes in all the areas, and you could fight them and get the outfits for the corresponding mimes, I guess. And the outfits are called baguette. So like,
Yes.
I was worried about like how seriously this game would take its Frenchness, and the answer is not at all. Please make fun of us. It's funny.
Yes.
So I'm very, very happy to see that you fight giant mimes and you get a stripy beret outfit with a baguette on your back. Like it's so stupid that it's funny.
I also love in the menu, because I was just like looking around the options, and there's an option that you can set, and it's like only have the kind of predetermined costumes in the cutscenes, or have whatever. But what it says is like, one option is like characters will have their story specific costumes in the cutscenes, and then it says characters won't have their story specific costumes. This could, like remove the tension from some scenes, parentheses, but it's funny. Like that's what it says in the
I like
option.
that.
And you can get the Gustav. I think it's Gustav. You can get like a gestural costume for someone.
Oh, that was Lune.
Or you can get, get
You
Lune's.
can get them for everybody, because just based on the mime thing. Like,
yeah, but it makes them look like a little like patchwork quilt, and the idea
so
of wearing that in
it.
like a dramatic cutscene is so funny.
And
But I think her grippers are still out, even in the gesture of
you can't cover them up. It's
You
mandatory.
gotta stop
can never cover them up.
Yeah, it is funny. It's a smart idea, I think, to have Sophie design the costume, the Expedition 33 costume for Gustav. It's like, okay, it's a way of kind of keeping Sophie in every shot of Gustav in a way, right? If he's wearing the clothes that she gave him. But then it's kind of funny just to immediately be like, all right, what can I swap this out for? What else you got here? Let's put on a mime costume.
A baguette? Yeah, let's do it.
Make It Unclear wrote in and said, I told my brother that this is a French take on a classic JRPG. And he said, so what? Instead of gods, there are mimes, and instead of swords, there are baguettes. And boy, was I delighted to tell him just how close he was with this game.
He thought he was being clever, but yeah, no, literally. That's true.
You can't out-clever Clair Obscur, I guess. Yeah, people are lighting themselves on fire about this mime thing. So we got Brian Tylek. Okay, those mimes, though. I've never seen an enemy in any game that has creeped me out harder than those stupid effing mimes. And I'm so bad at fighting them. I hate them so much. I don't even hate actual mimes as much as I hate the creepy-ass mimes.
Their special song that comes on, it's like, oh, like it's like extra French when they show up.
Yep, Dingus 2K is all about that music they wrote in. Yeah, they say, add insult to injury. What did I get as a reward for spending an hour fighting that second mime? An effing mime outfit. The audacity. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. Creeps, get away from me. It's okay, Brian. It's okay. Relax, buddy.
When there's that first one in Lumiere, I did actually think of the robo fight in Chrono Trigger when you're in the like fair scene before the game starts.
Oh, now we're talking.
Because it was kind of the like when it started, and the animations on that mime were so involved, and I was like, is this an enemy just for here? And then it turns out that it's in other places, but like the creativity of kind of being like, okay, it uses its mimed hammer to put up a mimed wall, and then its defense goes up, and then it attacks you with like a big club that it's miming. It's just like, for the first real enemy other than like Mael that you fight in the game to be that just off the wall, I was immediately impressed. I was just like, wow, okay, they're going for it.
So it's a little bit like fighting a hardened Kakuna for a while with those mimes. Am I missing like an animation of the wall shattering? I feel like it's a grind, then at a certain point it's like, okay, now I'm just doing a ton of damage. End of story, they're done.
They break, it goes broken.
Does it? Okay, I must have missed that.
Yeah. No, that's
like the break system.
These are two different things. Yeah. You can break their stance bar, but what the mime is doing when it puts up the wall is just giving itself a defense up or a shell, which you can also, it's the same effect that you can give to yourself. Like there are skills that cast shell on you and your party members, and that's what the mime is.
So it's just an invisible number of turns, and then eventually that goes away for the mime?
Yeah, it's just a boon for like 3 turns or something.
Okay. You're spot on here, Jacob, with a lot of people we're screaming about. Brandon G says, I don't know if it's just because I played Chrono Trigger a couple weeks ago, but I reminded a lot of it in this game. Opening with the festival, fighting at the festival, earning tokens, then trading them in, girl disappearing in the beginning. It's interesting, kind of. Things like that.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, but I wasn't sure if that was just like JRPG looks like other JRPGs. I am very smart, but I actually think it is a pretty good. I think it is like inspired in some actual way.
Yeah. I think it's, I don't know, just being a fan of RPGs, it's so easy just to plug and play all of them. Like this is this. Like I was thinking a lot more about Shadow Hearts, not the fantastic character apparently, but the old PS2 RPG. Did you ever play that one, Kelsey?
No.
Okay.
I love where you're going with this, though.
It has just a very dark tone, and then it's also a lot of very specific timing-based combat. The big thing is the Judgment Ring, and you have to, with every one of attack, time it just right. And so I was thinking of that, but you were obsessed with the Xenoblade 3 comparison, Kelsey?
I'm thinking more story-wise, and this is where we get into like speculation stuff about where things are going, and it's based on stuff you see kind of towards the end of our deepest dive thing. But you know, you have people throughout the game as you're going through this section who make little comments that are like, you know, either Mael is like, this feels familiar, or the little boy is like, you're just like that other person who passed through here. And I feel like my prediction is this is a cycle. This is a circle. This has happened before. This is not the only countdown of 100 that's happened. That's my prediction.
So, and there's no one there to say that this has all happened before. So kind of like a Matrix style idea of this. This is not.
Yeah, but not only has this all happened before, it's happened before with the same people.
I think because that guy, the old man guy on the beach, looks like old Gustav, which I thought was really obvious. I was like, that's Gustav. I thought I was confused.
Right.
I was like, did he age up when he got to the island and then it cut back to normal age Gustav? I was like, oh,
You didn't think he looked like Pierce Brosnan?
both can be true.
Mike H says, I'm 31. I have pretty much completely white hair. I started going gray at like 15 or 16. I feel a little older every time a character in this game goes, they have white hair, and then they gasp in horror. Yeah, sorry, buddy.
I love I've never seen that though. They've never
when you
seen
get to the beach and that guy is just like, you're old. Like, that's literally what he said. And it would be, I mean, it would be the craziest thing in the world to get there and see someone who looks like they're like 70 years old. But it is just so funny. He's like, you're old.
Yeah, because I mean, what is the oldest person? All right, math majors, what's the oldest person they remember seeing?
That should be a math. That could generally be a math question.
I mean, because it's like, if they were, what's
how do we even figure that out?
33 minus 5? It would be like probably like 60.
Yeah, maybe blurry memories of a 60-year-old.
They would have been 5 years old, and the oldest person would have been 60, so they might remember that.
The way my brain just goes, like I can't even begin to think like that.
Your beret sagged. I've never seen anything like it.
So drippy.
We got a lot of people writing in with the obvious. Obviously, hey, Gustav looks like Robert Pattinson, right? Asked Jumbo and 1,000 other people.
Yes, he does.
It is suspicious.
I don't get that.
Really?
Oh, have you looked at them next to each other?
I have. I was watching Ben's stream with 2 different Robert Pattinsons in his stream with them, and I didn't get that at first. I thought you were making some other joke, and then I realized, oh, he just thinks it looks like Gustav.
Yeah, I think.
But then why'd you do it twice?
Because I needed to have the 3-person layout to get the screen, yada, 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 for the B-roll that we're not using because it was too compressed. It's a long story.
Oh, I see.
So Jim says Charlie Cox, who voices Gustav, who's, Daredevil, and everybody else's favorite Charlie Cox roles, such as... I'm sure he's in a lot. I'm sorry, Charlie Cox. But apparently Charlie Cox was a roommate of Robert Pattinson's in 2008. Coincidence? What? Probably, they say.
He's just trying to steal his vibe ever since.
Yeah, I think that's how it goes. But
it does seem like, Ben, I'm sure you know this reference. In the movie where Michael Keaton turns into the snowman, Jack Frost. But then the snowman, it was supposed to be George Clooney, and the snowman is designed to look like George Clooney.
Yes.
Like that, it does really feel like Robert Pattinson fell through. Because, like, why did they make him look so much like Robert Pattinson?
Yes, absolutely. Not weird or rodent. It was another interesting tidbit here. They say, I was doing some research on the Sandfall interactive team and stumbled upon a 2021 casting call for voice actors, including an early concept for Gustav with concept art. He was a blonde character with a mustache and glasses, and his name was Eaton. And he was described as follows. Eaton is a wisecracking engineer and warrior. He is a fun-loving, always on the move, doesn't like following rules, but deep down, he is constantly worrying. He tries to deny it, but he's a noble heart and is prepared to sacrifice himself for the cause. So at some point, they redesigned this character completely to make him look slightly more like Robert Pattinson. And I wonder if it is in the potential casting department. And then they got Charlie Cox, who's great. I really think it is, kind of that classic celebrity actor nonsense of like, well, he spent a lot of time on this. This is not a throwaway role. Like, this is a huge, beefy performance. I think just in general, I've been amazed just by the scope of this game. And just every cutscene is like, this is so much work. And there's the big billing of, it's a development team of 30 people. And people who have, dug through the credits a bit, be like, okay, there's a lot of like outsourced help here. So it's a little bit misleading to say 30 people made it. But like, it was still a remarkably small team. And I think that's the part that is really shocking, is just like all the animation and the cutscenes. Like, oh my God, there's so much here.
The lead studio people are former Ubisoft as well.
Right.
Which is interesting. Have you seen any Ubisoft stuff bleed through here, do you think, at all? I don't know if I've had necessarily.
Well, just the bugs when they got stuck in the world. But...
Good thing that he left.
It is, it is a thing that I've thought about, though, with, like, it's a small team, oh, wow, they're, like, really... I think this is a pretty impressive test case for, like, Unreal, of, like, a small team can make something really visually impressive without that much work. But I am like, where is the budget coming from for this, like, A-list talent?
Yep.
Of, like, like Andy Serkis is in the game, and Charlie Cox, and so it's just kind of like, I don't know how much did they have like a product before they were showing these things. I genuinely want to know, because it is just like, it is so, every aspect of it is so impressive for a first title. And even though they came from AAA talent, just kind of securing the budget to be able to do this stuff is kind of sends the mind spinning. And
so maybe they could just lock down one of those big actors. If they could get Andy Serkis early, then who's going to turn down Andy Serkis? Plus, Robert Pattinson is floating around, potentially taking the role of Gustav. But like, think of Andy Serkis was in Volume. Do you remember that Mike Bithell game? That was kind of like Metal Gear Solid VR missions. Like, that's another example of like, Andy Serkis is in this. Like, he jumps in every once in a while.
Does he just have a number? He just has a quote?
yeah, who knows? But Torin writes in, they say, in the camp conversation where Gustav and Lune argue about quitting the mission, there's a specific facial tic that Gustav does where he kind of locks his jaw to the left a little bit, right before delivering the line about hoping he still believes in their mission. I had not noticed Charlie Cox's voice at all, but I instantly recognized that expression as one he made in the Netflix Daredevil show all the time. I've never had an actor instantly appear through mocap like that before. It's really cool. It speaks to the fidelity of the mocap.
That is good. Maybe credit to the animators. They are not doing performance capture on this.
Aha, okay.
Wow.
So Charlie Cox is not in the mocap suit, and neither were any of the main actors, I'm pretty sure. I watched a behind the scenes thing, and it was not the people that I recognized as playing those characters in the suits, but I don't know if they did that for all the scenes or if the main actors did it for some of the main scenes. I don't know.
So it's a little bit kind of like, I say old school Naughty Dog, I guess mid school Naughty Dog, of like, it's just really intricate facial animation that is trying to get the most out of the performance on top of mocap from other people.
Or maybe they were recording their face in the
booth,
VO booth, then we're doing the bodies of other people. I don't know how it works, but it wasn't, like when you picture The Last of Us with like Troy Baker in the suit recording his voice at the same time, it wasn't that.
Right. Okay. Charlie,
I looked it up as well. In France, they have 30% off all development costs for a tax credit.
Is that a Picto?
That's a Picto.
Okay, cool.
It gets turned into whatever it's called.
Of course. God. Very obvious system we'll get into. Charlie S just says like, hey, you can give me the crimson uniform for Gustav. Like, do you want me to cosplay as Daredevil because of Charlie Cox? Because now I just think of this character as Daredevil. I'm sure there's a lot of people in that exact camp. You're not alone. But I stick with just vanilla costume. I want to see him hoof it across the world map, and I want like standard boring ass costumes.
I want stupid baguette, and it's in the cutscenes and everything.
Really? The cutscenes?
Yeah, oh yeah, stupid baguette.
There was one cutscene where I regretted being in the baguette, but I'm mostly rolling with baguettes.
All right, smart. Aaron W says, "Am I the only one here who's stunned by how much Gustav looks like Jacob Geller? I can't be the only one." Congratulations.
Look at mustaches.
Yeah. I thought he looked like me, actually.
He has your same beard. I think maybe that's where it's coming from. He has a similar beard shape to yours, Jacob.
I see it a little bit.
Okay.
That's very flattering.
Be related.
Thank you, everyone.
Only when he's
thank you, everyone.
when he's really dark and covered in blood and wanting to die. Like, that's the Jacob Geller vibe, I think.
Me pointing
I didn't want to go that
far. My favorite, actually, I want to go back to that previous comment where they were talking about Charlie Cox's iconic jaw lock, because that has I think my favorite bit of acting in this section, which is when Gustav is getting so big and he's like, the mission, and then Lune kind of talks him back down, and then at the end she's like, the mission, and he's like, he's so kind of immediately embarrassed of getting that passionate about stuff. And I thought it was just like man, this in most video games would not be written this kind of naturalistically, and I just like those little kind of like human moments that seem almost improvised.
Yeah, Choco Factory says, right before you fight the rock/turtle, Gustav does this subtle palms raised, what the fuck gesture, and it's the most convincing acting I've seen in a video game. That's all it takes. That's all it takes, everybody. I liked going back and playing that opening again. There's a little moment that's just like, I'm fascinated by Gustav. where right when they land on the beach before like the worst things you could possibly experience happen, he just like.
And why do you laugh at all of the death?
I will explain why I laugh. I want to explain why I laugh.
I get his head cut off and Ben's like,
I'll explain why that's funny, Kelsey. But no, specifically what just kills me is Gustav just does a little like bit, like kind of shoulder punch to Mael. Basically like, hey, little sister, like, here we go. You're in the big leagues now type of vibe. And just to go from like Jock pumping up his little sister to the worst things imaginable. It's such a fun
decapitation.
Pivot. And I think, okay, yes, Kelsey, is the opening scene, it got me emotionally. Absolutely. I think I wrote down in my notes also that beach scene makes me laugh. Like mouth open makes me laugh. And I think what it is, I was really analyzing, like, am I a complete monster? I say nay.
What it is you're a psychopath.
No. I mean, probably. But my argument is like, I'm not enjoying watching people that I know die or suffer. Like, Alan gets decapitated. Was anybody emotionally attached to Alan? The head of
he had a name.
Yeah, the head of the expedition. Like, you know, Lucian, we talked to like twice. We saw him get whisked away, probably dead, right? And so it's like, I think I just am laughing out of excitement because it's just showing like, oh, this game is going for it. Like this game is taking some big swings. Yes. Yeah. It's fun.
Tone shifts are funny. To go from 0 to 100 is always, it makes me laugh. You kind of just go, what the heck?
Right.
Like that kind of like, wee, this is crazy.
Can we do a dramatic reenactment of Kelsey watching the beach scene? Is that an option?
I don't. No, not a very good actor.
Down her face.
No, I was done with the crying at that point, but I think I was just like, whoa, like
yeah.
It is a very big swing very fast.
Yes.
That just doesn't make me laugh. That makes me go,
literally,
whoa, oh my god.
I think what's cool about it is the game really does not tip its hand as to, like, when you're at that party, you don't have any idea which characters are kind of important or not. And I think they do a really good job giving everyone kind of enough like personality that I kind of assumed. Yeah. I assumed that like the two people who came up to you and were like comforting you and getting drunk, I was like sure that those guys were going to be, you know, like important characters. And just kind of like other than Mael, which is, you know, you can be fairly confident in, but like I thought at the party that Lune had a super cool design. Yep. And I thought that she was really pretty. Okay. And I was like, well, I hope we get to see more of her. But then at that beach, I had
we get to see her feet.
We get to see her face. I had no confidence that she was going to be one of the people. And same with CL. You know, when you meet her again, you're like, oh, good. You know, I remember you and I like you. But there are so many other people that you probably do remember at least bits of from that going away party that will not show up again.
Yeah, Kurgles is really hoping that Lucian's alive. He's like, he was just kind of whisked away in a big way. But then again, you look at that footage again and like, Gustav is also kind of attacked by that creature and he wakes up in a different place. So like, you never know who could still be floating around out there. But like in retrospect, it should be so obvious that like, we're landing on a mysterious continent with so many people. It's like, I wonder which direction this is going to go. But still, I love that was still a complete surprise for me. That is such a sick thrill, Kelsey, is just to see like, oh my God. And not only the decapitation, but then also weird clicking monsters that you can't possibly imagine that look like weird hand creatures from Elden Ring are coming out and whisking people away. Just ratcheting up like this is going to be an interesting, weird, scary adventure and continent. It was just the perfect tone. I was in love with it at that moment. Also, I like, you know, Emma as a character who's like, you know, I don't really believe in this, but if you want to go on the expedition, sure. All right, I'll give this big speech, and she just completely nails it. It's just an amazing, motivating speech. But how she's like, this is sick. These expeditions, like these aren't going anywhere. And she's like, it's a bloodless guillotine. And then within like 5 minutes, you see someone's head like immediately chopped off in a bloodless guillotine kind of way from the old
bloody guillotine. Actually,
yeah,
I guess there might have been some blood.
You see their faces.
I guess that's true. Yeah. Should we cover anything before we get to the continent? Anything else from the prologue that we haven't hit? I guess my quick note is I thought it was funny talking to Lune, and it's like, okay, she's got the good strategy. She's zeroed in on the calculations for where to land on the beach, and it's where Expedition Zero landed. They're the only team with survivors, they say. So I guess let's land there. And it's so funny to have like Gustav be like, that's a really good strategy. That's a good idea. It's like, this is the 67 years in. You're like, let's go where the people didn't die. You're the first ones to think of this. And everyone else is like,
she was the first one to be able to calculate where
I
they
see.
went,
You're right. Okay.
What I read from that.
Yes, that's a smarter
She was
read.
like, I figured out where they landed.
Right. Let's go there, please.
But it was also like the worst place to land, apparently.
They were waiting. I love just the pockets of learning about the other expeditions and being like, okay, this is we're all about the cars. We took cars there. Okay, we're about the boats.
The one where it's just the car driven into the tree, and it's just like, God damn it! You said this armor would help us.
The guy's like, I think I have a concussion, and we got to keep going. We're nowhere near the paintress.
It is very rare to care about like it's a note left by someone who died. Like few games get that right, but this one does it really well because what happened to them all? I'm curious to know what happened.
This one does it so well that I wish there were more, and that is an insane thing to think about notes left in an RPG. I've never ever wanted more notes.
It's just so genius to show that entire like readout and then just be like, oh wait, we're gonna get to learn something about all of these guys, you know, because it is the biggest question and one that the game couldn't answer without completely killing the pacing of just like, well, what happened to 67? What happened to 68? And then just getting these little bits of like, oh yeah, this was the car expedition, and then they drove into a tree.
I also think it's cool how there's always kind of one leader in each expedition. It's like, oh, this was blankety blank's expedition, because I think a society would do that to like add a dash of heroism into, here's the leader, you're on their expedition, to make it more memorable, because then more people would want to sign up for it and go do it potentially just to feel like they're cool. I thought that was a cool. There's so much like. They don't even take a beat to explain it to you. It's just like, of course, that's how they would set up a world like this, which is so depressing. Everything just naturally works so quickly in this. And
using it as fuel for like the personalities of just trying to get a read on Mael as a character. Like, okay, pseudo sister, they're caretakers, him and Emma for Mael, got it. She's feisty, love it. But then the idea of like, oh no, she's signing up for this 9 years earlier than she needs to, because she's sick of being stuck in Lumiere. It's like, okay, that's a fascinating character detail that you get so quickly, and it helps you just kind of lock into who she is in a smart way.
One of the best prologues ever.
Oh, did you guys
played.
get the haircut?
No,
I did. I don't like it.
You don't have to keep it. I just think it's fun that it is like, hey, you get a haircut for the rest of the game.
I made his hair messy again the second I realized how to do that. So.
Smart.
But I did get all the tokens in that scene so that I could buy everything that the game offered.
Drake H said, heads up to anyone looking to complete the collectibles. The prologue has what appears to be 2 missables. A mime fight by the stage of dancers that rewards music, and an old key you can buy with a token that unlocks something later in the game. Collectibles do not carry over to New Game Plus, so if you miss them, you'll need to replay the whole game to recollect everything. Just so you know.
There's also that one of them, a guy gives you like weird picto or something, and I having beat the game, I don't know what you do with that, if anything, or if it just stays in your inventory. But I could have just missed what
there's gotta be some
other old man who's like, wish I had a weird picto. Here you go, old man.
There's storytelling. Spencer S says, was anyone else yelling at the television for Gustav to just kiss Sophie already? They're both clearly in love with each other. She's about to die. What are you being so coy for? I know it's JRPG inspired, but you're so French. Go for it, dude.
But you're French. Yeah, I was yelling at that. I'm like, at least kiss.
French class, kid.
I was just shocked during that scene how many people were not like in the embrace of someone else. Even if it's just another person who's going to die. Like, I just assume that I mean, like Jacob said, a good game puts you in a lot of like, what would I do kind of mindsets. And it's like, I cannot imagine going to my death, knowing it's my death without like hugging someone, like holding on to something. Like in my final moments, there were so many people who were just kind of standing there. Some of them standing alone.
Yeah.
That was weird. That was wild.
You think
maybe they were that for everyone else in their life, and they're the last one left.
They don't have any friends left? Even like other people who are about to die?
maybe they shut themselves out from the world. Who wouldn't in a horrible world like this?
I mean, were you all struck as well by kind of how, they talk about it, how those are kind of sweet deaths in a way? Like, I really like the conversation between Gustav and Lune on the continent where they're like, death here is scary and weird. I feel like back in Lumiere, there's some sweetness to the gommage that we got used to. But I mean, no one's breaking down and wailing and crying in Lumiere. And it's just, you're so used to it at this point, I guess, in society. This is just like it's our 4th of July parade, but people are just going to fade out of existence, and that's how it goes.
I was thinking about this a lot, and like we right now live in a society that pretends death isn't even real. Like we all just are like, isn't it fun to own video games and go for walks outside and wear clothes?
Which, to be clear,
never talk about it.
Isn't it fun that video games exist, Haley, and that death doesn't?
Yeah,
I think it's worth pointing that out to our listeners.
When I'm sure when I'm dying, I won't go, God, why did I play Rebirth? I probably will. I don't think that was
okay, I don't know why you have to choose Rebirth, Haley. You could have chosen any other game.
Because I knew you'd have that reaction. I could have chosen any game. But it's interesting to live in a society where death is just as normal as like New Year's Eve or something.
Right.
That's really fascinating. It's just, there's just like a complacency to it. I'm sure the people who it's their year have the most gut-wrenching anxiety that they just shove underneath. And if every year that's coming up for you, you feel also equally stressed out. But yeah, it's like it's like the antithesis of our society. We're always trying to forget that that's a thing. And here it's like, you can't forget. So let's just make it a holiday. That's fascinating. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's so interesting.
Or it's another version of denial or something, that like you could view all the flowers and whatever of like papering over this, like trying to remove the horribleness from something that is horrible. And it's like, look, in the US 3 years ago, 1 million people died, and you would think that would have like radically changed society in some way. And like,
yeah.
It probably did, but not in a way that is like super visible to me. It's like it is. So it's like you can read about previous plagues, and we kind of lived through one. And like, people change their minds to get okay with death because the alternative is like you go insane, I guess. But it's not. It's never fun, even if it's kind of like we made it pretty this time.
Yeah. I mean, just again, for smart hooks for the players, like having a conversation with your ex-girlfriend about whether or not you're ready to die. It's like, that's some good narrative fuel here. And I love that idea of Gustav and Sophie talking. And she's like, it's kind of nice to have like a deadline. She's like, 33 years, you can pack a lot in. Like, I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go. Gustav's like, I wouldn't be. And she's like, you will be. I was like, you'll get there eventually.
He's just not there yet.
Give it 2 years, 1 year, Gustav, whatever you need. And so I'm not looking at Jacob, but
or
like
2 days, as it turns out. One day.
I hope, and Kelsey, again, I'm not a psycho. I want to be really clear, but I kind of am hoping that that's the full circle of the game. That by the end, there's a time jump or something, and we get to see Gustav have to face his own gommage. Because to start the game with him being like, I wouldn't like to turn into flowers, as my Gustav impression. Like, I think it'd be kind of beautiful if he, pardon the dork reference again, but if he went full Woody in Toy Story 3 of like scrambling to fight death and then just realizing like, okay, I just need to hold my friend's hand and embrace it and need to be okay with that. Like, if that's kind of the larger theme they're working with here, I think that's really beautiful. And I don't know why else they'd be setting up so clearly the fact that he's like, me, Gamage? No way,
I mean, that's how everyone would feel, I guess, until it's your turn. Not to get too depressing, but it kind of reminds me of like pet death. If you guys, not that that's kind of a sad topic, but like my vet was like 1 week early is better than a minute too late is what she told me when my dog was getting like really old. And then you kind of go, oh my God, death is crazy. Like I was deciding when something died and it was for like a sake of peace and not like stress.
Right.
And it made me like view death really different. This game is kind of making me think of what it felt like to be like, yes, other thing, you die now. Like it's such a weird thought process to have to go through. But I think they're also tackling with that kind of thing of just like, if death's a necessity to avoid something worse, like, is it that bad? Not that here they don't know what happens with the paintress and the island and everything. Obviously it's really bad because the white hair guy's crazy and has a machete and slices everyone in half.
Machete.
But
he hacks him apart with the machete.
It's a cane.
Was it a cane? Well, it had a knife part to it or something. That wasn't just a wood cane.
Yeah. I really like another bit of Sophie wisdom that I was really struck by is just when they're walking down and she says, she just says like, I feel bad for the paintress or something, that she looks sad. And it's like that's kind of like a nice little observation. But Gustav says like, only you could be empathetic at a time like this. And she says, God, what is the exact phrase? She says like, it's kind of, he says only you would choose to be empathetic at a time like this, and she says it's the only choice I can make, which is both like it's such a cool multi-layered line of like kind of being like, this is, I'm like forcing myself to see it this way because if not, the world is like even worse because we're getting killed by like a malevolent creature, but also like she does not have any choices left. Like the rest of her life is predetermined because she's going to be gommaged in like 4 hours. And so her choosing to be empathetic is like a way of her expressing agency in the last, hours of her life. And it's just another one of those lines where I'm like, oh boy, that feels like that, that even if no one explicitly is like, I'm thinking about what Sophie said. It's just like a line that kind of sticks with you.
She didn't throw one
There's
rock.
another person at the party, too, who has kind of it's not the same, but you talk to someone, a lady who has clearly, like, quit the expedition, like, was going to go on it and decided against it. And, Gustav is kind of, like, giving her a hard time about it. And she's like, look, like, I think this is a brave choice. I think the brave choice is to live another year knowing I'm going to die and like live it anyway. And again, like this game just does such a good job of the whole range of people, how people could feel about a situation like this. And it's like, it is interesting. It's like, is it braver to embrace your death or to go try to fight it? I don't know. Like, that's a very interesting question.
I mean, not to get too dark, but I was so compelled by Sophie being like, 33 years is enough. And I'm doing good mentally,
Ben, how old
I swear. 38. It's very
so
fun.
5 years more than you need, really.
There is a part of me, and I like life to be clear. Don't be scared for me. But at the same time, do you guys ever have that feeling of just like, oh my God, I've lived for so long. This has been so many days. Somebody else have that feeling ever?
No.
Okay.
I feel like I figured it out in the last like year and a half. Like I was like messing everything up until like right now. I don't want this to be the finish line.
Okay, once you have like 7 years of it, you'll get it. You'll be like,
I'll be bored.
Yeah, you get the idea. Anonymous writes in talking about somebody who doesn't have the idea. They say one of the trash cans in the prologue. Did you all talk to a trash can?
No, but I saw you looking for it in your
chat was screaming about it. I kept trying to find it. I couldn't find it.
I couldn't either. I interacted with a couple of trash cans, figuring, oh, these are interactable. There must be something in one of them. And then, and also like the piano, you can just kind of mash keys on the piano randomly. So I eventually was like, this must just be this game being silly.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing in any trash can. This is just the game being silly. But there is something in a trash can.
There is something.
Come on.
Yep. One of the trash cans in the prologue gives the response, nothing special to see. After a few times, the quote, trash can man will urge you not to blow his cover. He says, quote, if I hide myself here, the paintress won't think of gommaging me. I've been hiding in here for 6 months.
That's so funny. I wonder if he was go-watching that day.
Yeah, can you, well, I guess you can't.
It's a year from then?
Or is it a year from then?
Yeah, like I wish you could go back and run around and see if it's like now it's just a trash can filled with like soot and flowers.
That'd be really funny.
Ben, did you get any messages about the piano?
Yes. You better believe we did. Jordan H. says, anyone on the crew interact with the piano in the square on the way to the harbor? I was delighted to find that Gustav and Sophie play in a different key/pitch depending on who you control at the time. It was a cute, charming little detail that made me smile.
Every character does, and it was like playing it alone before I could talk to anyone, having that realization of just being like, wait a minute, I wonder, and then like switching the character and having them play different keys. I was just like, yes, like they didn't need to do this, and they did, and I love it.
Yeah.
Addition to detail Easter egg, Jacob.
But in the manor, you can't play the harp, and that bothered me.
The manor
Why have
pissed
the
me
harp
off.
next to the piano? Why have the harp next to the piano? If
Yeah.
you
None of
really
the
play
doors
piano?
opened either. I walked up to every door because my brain's crazy. I need to check everything. It was just like
Me
jiggle,
too.
jiggle.
Yep.
Does it open? Jiggle, jiggle. Then there's like 28 doors in that stupid manor. None of them open. What's the
hear ya.
point?
Yeah, Mr. Jocko is also obsessed with the piano, talking about like, oh, each character plays their own musical theme. Was his read on what exactly is happening there. And Mike C says, anyone else think they're about to play Tazanarkand from Final Fantasy X repeatedly? It's literally one note off on the piano motif. They're not even trying to hide that they're all Final Fantasy nuts. Yeah, there's a lot of Final Fantasy in here, obviously.
I did not notice that.
You can't get
That's
around
awesome.
it. Speaking of your Rebirth slander, Haley, Hambles says,
Sorry.
I just finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and love it though I do. The contrast in terms of motivation, drive, and urgency is revealing. Expedition 33 feels like it has such a clear sense of purpose. Every moment pushes you forward with real momentum and meaning. So it is, yes, Rebirth I love dearly, but it is very much the spread out and get to learn the characters chunk of that game.
It's the middle chunk, yeah. I feel like my expectations for middle chunks of trilogies is so freaking low that a decent plot
name like
is
one
fine.
good middle chunk.
It's
of a
never happened. It's
trilogy.
never happened.
Totally not considered like the best of multiple trilogies.
But yeah,
My bar's low.
it is before Sunset. Obviously, the worst before film, Jacob. So there you go.
The worst is Midnight. We've had this argument.
But no, it is an amazing, simple premise of just you're trying to kill the Paintress. Expedition goes wrong. Go. Like it is just as clear of a ticking clock as you could possibly imagine here.
I really liked you on the MinnMax show describing it as Annihilation-esque.
Yeah.
Because it definitely feels like you walk in Annihilation, it's the Shimmer or something. But they walk through there and it's just like, all right, rules don't apply. You know?
Yes.
Like
Yeah, try and understand.
everything's weird.
You're going to see fish flying through the sky and you're in an underwater area, even though you can still breathe. Like,
You're so cool.
but that's the cool thing about like this world being so different that it's like, I can't tell how much is like night and day shock to them versus just their world is already kind of surreal. I mean, they have
It's already surreal.
their birthday candles are already the Eiffel Tower all bent. So they're living in the wackiest world imaginable.
I loved that. I loved that little detail on the cakes.
Floating lights and stuff too. Like things just kind of float
Yes.
in general.
Yep.
Everything is kind of the a hallucination in a Far Cry game is what I always think. I mean, so many video games do the like everything's floating now, and this it's like they couldn't even wait till they got to the continent to make everything float.
Yep. Twinkle Toez says, I like that they don't spend too much time explaining how the magic and tech works. Why can Lune kind of fly? Who cares? Why is Gustav missing an arm? Dunno. They mentioned an accident, I guess. I'm sure they're going to get into that more later, I'd imagine. Within the first 5 minutes, you use a magical grapple point, and I like that they don't overload you with explaining it right off the bat. The Lumina converter, that's Gustav's big invention. And this is kind of their signature thing, other than, I guess, Luna figuring out and crunching the equation for where they actually should do the landing. But this is kind of what they see as their ace in the hole. Is like, this is the first expedition with a Lumina converter. Is that literally just like what you're using to get experience or to convert your Pictos to Lumina? Or what should I understand that as? I'm still a little confused about that exactly.
I thought it was converting Pictos into like actual abilities that stick to you.
The Lumina
And then you
stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I thought.
I wasn't sure of that either. That was my guess, but I didn't even know if it was just the entire notion of gaining XP
Right.
was somehow the Lumina convert. It's not super spelled out, I don't think.
But it's not like they're like, oh, I'm powering up in a way I've never done before, you know? And so if it is just previous expeditions still were on their own RPGs, they just didn't
Level 1.
unlock
The whole
They were
time.
doing Soul Level 1 runs.
or just their Pictos weren't unlocking the Lumina upgrades permanently. Like that feels doable. I don't know.
Well, that's another. It's a thing that's like kind
Speedrun
of
category.
explained enough to make you think about it. Is like when you're in Lumiere, there are those basically Cirque du Soleil doing like a performance with the magic, and the guy explains like tattooing those on your skin. Don't call me crazy. I would never do that. Good thing you can easily remove and change them anytime you want. And he has a very like gameplay-esque line.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, so when you have and I can't even remember which direction it goes. When you have a Picto and then you turn it into alumina,
Yeah.
or does it become like a tattoo, or is it just you're just memorizing it, or I don't know. I don't know how it fully works.
There's also like a small animation right after Gustav and Lune fight a Nevron where he like pulls out a little like box with light in it, and then they're like, it worked. And I don't know what worked. But
Is that XP?
Whatever that was, it worked.
It's like it's sold.
Tyler has a quick question here. Who else is playing this as a 33-year-old and coming to grips with their own mortality? Everybody, Tyler. But since everybody, this is so sad. This is what Marvel has done to our society. Since everyone faded away Avengers style, I'm holding out hope that maybe killing the Paintress will bring them back.
That'd be lame.
I agree, it'd be lame.
That would be lame.
They do like, you know, Sophie does have a line or something like, oh, you know, in another timeline, maybe nice to see you again, like that type of thing. But
more Xenoblade Chronicles 3 stuff.
Okay.
She's existed before, she will exist again. That's my prediction. Jacob, make no faces. Be very stoic, please.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've never seen anything.
He's doing a great job.
Yeah. I mean, Gavin C., if you want to jump right into this minefield, Kelsey, jumping ahead a little bit, Gavin C. Says, before we fight Goblu, Gustav finds a flower, just like the one...
So stupid sounding.
What, I can't say Goblu on a podcast without being mocked.
Before we fight Go Blue Glue Blue?
Before we fight Goku Super Saiyan Blue, Gustav fights a flower, just like the one he gave to Sophie, and then the party realizes that Goblu was just protecting the flower, and Mael then says, Goblu feels familiar. Is this going where I think it's going? So Gavin, I think, is coming from the angle of that Goblu was Sophie reincarnated, I think. But then in that case, that's Jacob, I don't want to see you laughing.
Sorry.
Because that's ruling out possible scenarios. But I was like, well, that's interesting because like...
yeah, Sophie reincarnated is the third boss and then you fucking kill her.
Well, I don't know. It's a
She
wacky
gets away. She runs away.
But it was interesting that like Mael's the only one that's like, you seem familiar. You think Gustav would be like, I want to kiss you.
But maybe this is a thing as you get further into your life, your like ties to the previous version of yourself get fainter and fainter. And Mael is still, again, this is all just me speculating, but I just feel like because we have seen an old person that looks like Gustav, and because we keep getting these little glimpses of like, this feels familiar, a little bit of deja vu, a little bit of, you know, I think I've seen you before, and random stuff like that. It just, that's what it feels like it's leading up to me.
Yeah. I think I'm 50-50 on that idea of the old man being Gustav. Like, I don't know if it was like such a lock in my mind, but the fact that they're trying to hide him with that scar that maybe is leading towards it. But I thought that this is something with, clearly Mael is very important, which we know from the final cutscene at the end of this play session. But I assume this was something to do with like her parents then, if she was the only one that said this. Like, what do you think is going on? Do you think Mael's parents are special in some way?
Like they were one of the first expeditioners and they were old or something.
Well, I don't think that timeline works out. But yeah, I was trying to do that math
I'm just trying to think of something of that kind of vibe. Right.
Yeah, I guess we can save it for when we talk about that final cutscene, just in case people haven't gotten there. We'll save that chunk and let you know when that's coming up. But DEFCON writes in on Patreon. They say, so much for a beach episode. Oh, I was shocked by the landing scene. When the Nevrons kill the humans, their bodies don't just fade away. Any chance the man is trying to mercy kill the expeditioners before the Nevrons could get to him?
Maybe he could say something and not just freaking go.
I mean, he tells them later to like go away to get off the continent. But
I guess
if they're not going to listen to him in time, I guess the cleanest way is
maybe say get in your boat and go home instead of chopping sweet Andy's head off or whatever that guy's name is.
Is like the 67th time they've done this.
You're right. It's like Groundhog Day.
They're just over it. They're like, you people don't listen to reason. I have to chop your head off.
Right.
There's no other way.
I did like the leader in the arena of the little Gestrel town when they're like, oh, you humans, like every couple of years, you freaks just walk through and you're always like, where's the paintress? I got to get to the paintress.
I liked that. It's like, oh my God, we're so unserious to this society. That's so funny.
I mean, that is some of my favorite stuff in the world that they're building so far is just like the hints that they've had of like, Oh, humans. It's my favorite storytelling trope of just like, you are so secure in your bubble. This world is so much bigger than you realize, you know? And so just the hints that we've seen so far of everyone just being like, okay, humans, no. Like there's such a larger ecosystem here, and all you can care about is, yeah, but when the number changes, we die. It's like, okay, there's a larger system at play, and you are just stepping off your little island for the first time. Like you don't know anything.
Yeah.
Maybe. Or maybe they know everything. Jacob, I can't help but look at your face constantly. It's distracting.
Jacob's
now.
being so good.
He's doing good. No, he's doing
Oh.
great. He's doing a great job. I just am looking at the great job he's doing, and I'm getting distracted.
Because you think it's Gustav in the lower corner.
Oh, it's not? Oh, I thought we had Gustav on the call. Hell. Chaz Cheeto writes in, and they say, courtesy of Chaz's wife here, hello, Chaz's wife, many have pointed out that Gustav looks like Robert Pattinson. But in addition to that, Clair Obscur roughly translates to light dark, which is basically Twilight. Therefore, this game takes place in the Twilight cinematic universe, and the protagonist resemblance is anything but a coincidence.
I looked into the weird Clair Obscur, if you're curious, because
I'm sorry. Could you sing it, please?
Clair.
I thought you were going to go for like in the main town, like the Clair Obscur, Clair Obscur. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
But I thought, this is so stupid, I thought it was kind of like Tom Clancy. I thought Clair Obscur was the author of some kind of book or something.
Clair Obscur's Rainbow Six
Her
Vegas.
name is Claire. Yeah. Clair Obscur.
I literally thought that's what the name came from. And, like there was a book written in the same universe, and they were taking like a license to it and making their own story. Thought that's what it was. It's not what it was, which is so funny. But it was actually kind of hard to figure out what this word, like, yeah, it means. My freaking beret fell off.
Oh, she's not gonna be good at this anymore.
Now the beret's off. Now I'm locked in. It's from this 1699 doctrine from this old art philosopher who came up with the word, and it means when you accentuate colors through the use of light and dark. Is essentially what it means. Colors pop because you're really good with contrast. Is what it means. So he created that. And then I guess there's one movie that has Clair Obscur in the title of it, some Russian movie.
Yeah.
And then besides that, there's like barely any reference to this phrase in like all of media. It's just like ancient French doctrine. It's an old French doctrine in a movie one time. I'm curious why. They're like, we need that word.
I'm curious because we were roasting it beforehand, and we never really got over Metaphora Refantasio. I think this is into the game. Like, it's a good name, right? Like, I
will never say the full name. That's too mumuch to say.
In the
same way that I called it Metaphor, I call it Expedition 33.
You call it Expedition 33.
Yeah, I really did. It's a tough battle for the thumbnail on YouTube of like, okay, for the flavor text on the thing, do I put Expedition 33 Game Club or Clair Obscur Game Club? Like, which is going to be more iconic?
Typical.
I don't know. I went Clair Obscur. Foolish? Should I change it?
I'm calling it Clair Obscur, but I don't. And I'm also curious if they made another one, would they call it Clair Obscur something else?
I think so.
32.
Well, I think even if it's just a completely new world and Clair Obscur was just kind of their Final Fantasy like branding, I don't know. You know, who knows where this game leaves off, but I would hope that they don't. It's so stupid being 6 hours in this game or whatever. I mean, like, I hope they don't make a sequel, but like, I hope it is kind of like a cool standalone, you know, sufficient thing on its own here.
I call it Expedition 33 because I'm a lot more confident in my pronunciation of Expedition 33 than I am of some French stuff.
Clair Obscur.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah. I love just how fast everything happened with the landing. That could have been a whole sequence of like, talk to the people on the boat, run around. Oh, the captain's getting seasick. Or just run around and dodge incoming fire on the beach.
Rub his back so you can get the cut, HM.
I also feel like the span of water between them and Painterest isn't, the spanking of water isn't that far. Do you guys get that vibe? Like when they look across the water at the pier, I'm like, that's like a hour boat ride over there.
I feel like there has to be some magic sauce happening here because they're like throwing rocks at the tower at the Painterest in the beginning, and then when they're on the continent, they're also looking at like the tower and the Painterest from like, but you couldn't really like see the entire continent. I don't think like you couldn't see a landmass between them and the tower when they're looking at it from the shore. So I think there's some magic tower perspective stuff here.
I guess I just thought I mean, they do definitely do that because, like, in the scene where Sophie is gomaging, they do the very dramatic where it's like it's literally just them and the monolith. But I just thought, like, is tall. I just thought it was, like, so big that kind of everything else.
The paintress? Is she like a...
She's got to be huge. She's like a massive...
skyscraper shape?
Yeah.
Like massive lady?
She's bigger than Godzilla is my guess.
Like if the Empire State Building, had a paintbrush, I think is basically what we're working with there.
Yeah, like in order to see her from that distance...
Well, I think it'd have to be more.
You would not be able to see Godzilla from that distance.
But if you couldn't see the continent at all, I feel like, in theory, the monolith would have to be the size of, like, the moon. It would have to be like a space elevator.
It would
have to space elevator levels. Yeah, it would be so ridiculous. Let's see. Belgard writes in, says, I really appreciated the doubt that Gustav feels when landing on the continent. I feel it's very realistic to prepare for something your whole life, but the true horrors of it being way more than you expected. I felt great empathy for him when he considered ending his life. I love that too. I think it makes for such a more interesting character. The fact that he's like, he sees these horrors, he sees the piles of bodies, and he's like, gotta go. Sorry, this is so much different than I expected. Like, it's so much more compelling than just a Goku, right, come on, guys, this is fun. Wow. Like, to have the rest of the team trying to pick this guy up whose life and brain has just been shattered the second he sees the true horror, like, it's cool.
There was two really impactful parts of that scene for me, which is the fact that he chose to sit down with the big pile of bodies.
Yes.
I thought was really an interesting choice to the place where he wanted to kill himself. And then the second thing was how unserious Lume was about his suicide attempt. Like, she's like, stop it. And then they just moved on and talked about something else. Where in like a world like that would be how people treat that, I guess, in a world where death is so chill. Like, I was like, she's gonna freak out when she sees him with that gun. And she was like, really? Get up. And
right.
that was like how she reacted to it.
I think that's just Lude.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's both, it's her personality, and I think she actually gets Gustav pretty well in that, like, it feels like she knows that he is kind of like, he makes these big dramatic gestures because he kind of does it twice where he's yelling at her and he says F the expedition and with this, and both times it seems like she is like, Gustav,
calls his bluff.
And I know you're feeling a lot right now, but let's just take a step back. And then he's like, yeah, you're right.
But then he pivots 180 by being like, we gotta go, we gotta find Mael. There's the hint that she's in the coral place too. And she's like, okay, relax. Like, we can't just follow everything. They would have signed their name if it was like a helpful figure or somebody from the actual expedition here. I really appreciated how the first ounce of gameplay that you get on the continent, it's like, okay, you're free to control Gustav. And immediately it's like, all right, let's test this game. Let me turn around the direction I'm not supposed to go. There's a waterfall. In the waterfall, there's an item. All right, perfect. Like, it's a done deal.
Wait, there was? I looked.
There was in there. Yep. I think it was his currency. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. So you didn't miss like some
Ben
huge...
and his waterfalls.
Oh, yeah.
He loves them.
I had that exact same thought process. And then I was like, huh. They didn't put anything in the waterfall. Okay, I guess I just missed it.
There are a couple of waterfalls.
Aaron Gutchess writes in, says, I find it really cool that Robert Pattinson, his name is Gustav, doesn't say a single word. How frustrating would it be to be Charlie Cox, by the way? Just to be
just be compared to your roommate.
You gave
he's in like the best reviewed game of all time on Metacritic. I think he can.
Yeah, you're probably right. Robert Pattinson doesn't say a single word from the moment after the landing. Yeah, so he doesn't say a single word from the moment after the landing cutscene up until Lune shows up. I'm so used to RPG characters monologuing and quipping themselves that it stuck out a lot to me. It gave the sequence a lot of weight, culminating in that brutal moment right before Lune appears.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. It wasn't like, gotta find Mael. Like, there's none of that. It is.
He was in shock, I guess.
I
like that he's just a man. Like when Lucien was like, "What are you doing? Hurry up!" and then he just gets got in like 1 second. And then he doesn't even react that much. He's like, and turns around and walks the other way. I'm like, run, man, run!
You're Tom Hanksing on the beach. Come on, man.
God. It turns out putting a beret on top of headphones isn't very secure.
Come on, it's like they were barely designed for that.
French listeners, write in with your tips.
French streamers, let me know how you do it.
Hayden B says, anyone complete the side quest to get the light to the Nevron in the cave area?
I've tried to figure out where to find. I couldn't find this. Where is it?
Yeah.
I gave him a thing, and then it went I lit it, and then it went out. and then I gave up after that.
But he talks a little bit about the paintress giving him life and all that stuff. Yeah, and I think you also get something from it. I forget.
Yes,
I think so.
Mama,
Like a
giving us
picto or
life. Did you
Yeah.
say that?
He gives you a thing. That is the quest.
Okay, that's it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't get him a better fire starter after that or anything.
I
Not to
gave
my
one of the
knowledge.
BioShock guys that his balloon back. That was nice.
yeah,
What, I didn't do the balloon one. What did you get for that? Do you remember? Anything good?
Just an item, I think. Just a picto or something.
Okay.
It's either like pictos or weapons or something. It's something.
I think for some of
There's-
these you get like tints and stuff, which seems to be a pretty important thing just for
Oh, those are
upping
crazy.
the
Those are, like,
potency of these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are a couple of those because there's also one that probably would be really hard to accomplish at this point, but you can meet the guy who's like the little dude with the like sucker head who wants to be big.
Yes. Yep.
Did any of you meet him? And he asks for like flesh,
Yes.
which means you have to kill one of the big dudes, and they're really hard.
So I did that. The big guys who like eat you or gobble you
Yeah.
up, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I beat that and got his flesh and fed it to the other guy. And then it's like, he's like, give me some time. It's like very classic video game thing where it's like, all right, I'm going to run out of the space and then run back in. Okay, now he's huge. Perfect video gaming. And then you can talk to him and you still have that option of like leave or fight. And I was like, I guess I'll fight him. And so then you hit fight and then it's the worst because he goes like, no, you don't want this, no. But then it launches into the combat and there's like no way out. It's like, I guess I have to try and kill this guy now. And I feel terrible. And I did it. And I kind of regret it. I forget, if you got any amazing items
was
or anything
hard.
from it. It was pretty hard because it's like one of those where it's like, all right, 3 moves from now, he's gobbling up one of your characters and you can't dodge it. And so it's not a matter of like, they'll spit it back out eventually. Like he will just eat Gustav and he's just gone.
If you
break
him, then he will
really?
spit them out.
Oh.
Yeah, but they'll eat him again in like 2 turns.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and different characters have like some are much better at breaking enemies than others, and so like if he eats your guy who's good at building up the break meter, it's like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do now.
Yeah, but it is, the fun of the combat, I guess, is getting to those moments of, all right, 2 of my team has just been eaten by this giant freak, and I have Lune left, and she has like 34 health. It's like, all right, I'm out of all healing. I don't have enough AP for any healing from her. And it's a matter of like, how well can I parry? How well can I dodge? Like it's possible. And it adds so much tension to those moments. I think it's kind of a magical little
There was
thing.
that in Remake and Rebirth. Wasn't there like frogs or something that did that to you?
Yeah, they can turn into
Cloud
frogs.
a few times. I'd be
Yep.
like, no! Because he was my most beefy character.
Sweet Jesus. Kelsey, is the combat, you getting the hang of it as maybe the person who's most scared of parries?
Yeah, so this has been, I was talking to Jacob about this a little bit. Obviously, I've played a lot of, I know this is not a JRPG in that it is not Japanese people making it, but it's clearly JRPG inspired.
FRPG.
And it's an FRPG, of course, yes. I did not realize how much I was leaning on, like, my own ego as I'm pretty good at JRPGs. This game has been a very strange, humbling experience for me because I cannot parry. I have resigned to a life of just dodging and making my builds around dodges and just rolling. I've even started using a picto that like gives you AP if you're hit because I just know I will get hit at some point. Like I am not good at this. I feel like I'm missing something. I mean, it just depends on who I'm fighting, really. 'Cause, I mean, there's some enemies where I've got the timing down pretty good, but there's some stuff where I'm just like, I don't feel like I have a sense of the rhythm, the way to predict this or anything. And it was a tough, like, first few hours when I was just coming to terms with, like, I think I'm bad at this game and I need to adjust my strategy accordingly. I'm still playing on the standard difficulty. I could knock it down, but I'm just going to try to dodge the whole game because my parries are just not, I'm landing like 1 in 10, 1 in 12, like not even close.
Yeah.
I'm just getting hit all the time.
I'm largely there with you. Like when you all were talking on Pew Pew Bang, the standalone podcast you should subscribe to. It's very good. Talking about how you all cannot handle parries. Like I'm in that exact camp of like, it's never been something that I've been great at. In this game, it's like, okay, this is the game to really learn it. Like dodging, you have such a wider window. That's great just to understand the moves. Then when you understand the moves, I feel like you get a pretty good chance of getting these parries. I mean, still, Kelsey, ratio for how often I go for a parry and get it, I'm probably, 15%, 20% maybe. But I'm interested though, being a fellow Rhythm Heaven fan, there are moments where like there's audio cues that really help, especially like, okay, we have cannons that are firing and it's like, dish, dish, dish. And it's like anything like that. It's like, I got that locked. You
Those
know?
like, yes, the ones that are.
Yes.
Yeah, the ones that are literally Rhythm Heaven mini games.
Yes.
Those I can do.
Okay.
But anything else, there's some enemies where their attack, to me, and I understand other people like can just sense this and feel it and everything, but to me, it just seems like it's slow motion until it's suddenly not for no reason, and I can't figure out like how am I supposed to know when it breaks from the slow-mo? I have no idea, and even after I've seen it a couple of times, it's like I'm still really struggling. You know, I can maybe get dodges off at that point sometimes, but even then, just not consistently. It just doesn't, whatever that is that some people have. Yeah. And again, as someone who's like pretty decent at other rhythm games, it confuses me. Like I can play DDR super well, but like that arrow hits another arrow and you're timing it for when the arrow lines up with the arrow, not like when the guy's slow-mo lance suddenly becomes not slow-mo for some reason and you just have to know.
I think that some of the hardest enemies to parry and learn their timing are actually in this early stage, because I fully agree with you that the one that's like the Lancer attacks slowly and he's just like holding it back, jab, is like, there's really not a good way of knowing when that's going to come, and it does seem pretty random. I think as the game goes on, there are a lot more guys that attack kind of like 1, 2, 3, you know, and it's like you can get that rhythm in your head.
Is that true?
Yes. And I find those easier because it is, you are like figuring out the rhythm of their attacks rather than just like one node is happening right now.
Right.
I do think there is, before most attacks, like just before most attacks, there's a little like swing, like that you can hear, and sometimes that helps, and sometimes it is learning their animation enough that when they just start to move, you can do it. The Lance guys are not a good example of this, but did any of you guys go to that area with the pink thing with the spike on its head that is like way, way, way over level?
The weird sheep thing? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
just immediate death. It's like you go into a cave and it says like before you enter the cave, like danger, like this will rock your world.
I saw the danger and was like, I know what that means, and didn't go in.
Yeah, so it's like that enemy is a one-hit kill, and it will be for a long time. But it does have really predictable attacks. It basically has the magic attacks that go kind of like 1, 2, 3, and you can like see them on the ground. Yeah. And then it has another one where it's just bouncing up and down. And it's not good to try on because you'll die immediately. But it is an example of like, once you master that enemy, it just can't hit you. You know, and so you can actually kind of be stubborn and get through it.
It can.
I believe, but I think, you know, also I think if you are dodging and trying to get it a little closer, like when it says perfect dodge, that means that you could have parried it. Oh, you know, so if you can get
but
3 perfect dodges, then you could get 3 parries.
I can get perfect dodges a decent amount of the time, but never enough to where I'm like, I got this. Like, I have not once felt crazy confident in this game. And in fact, when I was fighting that big, starts with a B, the big flesh monster thing that eats you. Yep. There are times where it's like, he does a 5-hit combo, and I have audibly gone, yes, when I actually get all 5, just dodging.
Yeah,
I'm like,
no,
oh,
I'm
I
with you.
did it. That was incredible.
Kelsey, I feel like I'm basically you, but I have higher self-esteem when it comes to parrying. Like, I don't think you're not an abomination. Like, just hang in there. You know, I think you're doing okay. I don't think you're supposed to be nailing all these parries unless you're some Sekiro master.
I'm definitely not nailing.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not nailing them either. And I will say I do like the activeness of the combat, and I think it's a lot more engaging than other turn-based stuff. The only part of it I really don't like is how you almost have to have like a tester round with bosses where you're like gonna die. And that's just the reality of the way that this is set up. But like, I don't love going into the first round and being like, how do you move around? Just show me and I'll die and then I'll come back later. That always kind of feels clunky and annoying.
Yeah.
Doing this after Metaphor is, I was really like, man, this would really be improved by the Metaphor system of, okay, I've seen your attacks now, let me try that again, and quickly restart.
True, that would be a perfect thing to add in here.
Yeah, Johnny McGrippis wrote in about that exact thing. He's with you. Tanner H is wondering, on the podcast, Kyle and I believe Jacob claimed that the combat system, quote, wipes the floor with Metaphor Refantasio.
So are Kyle's words.
Kyle's words. Where do y'all stand on this
says,
combat
not me.
versus Metaphors so far?
They're so different. I mean, it's so hard. It's like,
come on, you gotta
I don't
compare
know.
them.
No,
Chalk and choose.
I think that it takes a lot of the flashiness of Persona / Metaphors menus and like clicking on things. It's not as flashy. I like how much more engaged I am with being on my toes in this, but there was something about Metaphor that once I mastered it and knowing where all my things were, I was flying through those menus so fast and it felt more speedlined. They're just too different. I don't know. They're both good in their own different way. But they
I
each
do
are
feel
good.
like there's you can feel like you've kind of broken the battle in Metaphor, and I'm sure you can do that in the same way here.
Yeah.
But it goes so much slower and requires so much activity from you within that you've never in Metaphor, if you have strategized well, you're just golden, and you don't have to there's no quick time stuff you have to also master on top of strategizing really well. In this game, I feel, first of all, I'm very excited because it does feel like you can absolutely make some crazy combos and really break this thing. I think that they've developed some really interesting systems here. But you can have the best plan in the world, and if you can't execute your dodges or parries, it all falls apart. And that part is, it's interesting, it's cool in some ways, but it's also frustrating as someone who's like, yes, this is going to be a great setup I've got here. Dang it, I let my L get hit too many times, and now this doesn't work. You know?
Yeah.
It's true, but on the other side of that, if something was too hard for you in Metaphor, it kind of was just too hard. You know, there were harder level, of just if this enemy is too high level above you, there is no amount of kind of skill, or even you could do a lot of class building, but I do like the ability to be stubborn in this. And I have seen, Reddit posts of people who have fought that pink super over leveled sheep at, level 6 or whatever. And you can kill it, and the game does not stop you. And once you get good at parrying, the battles will go even faster than Metaphor, because they will attack once and you will wipe the entire, squad of them.
Not
and they give you a gun.
When you get there, Kelsey. When you become the master at parrying.
Not if. When.
Half the time I'm playing this game, I'm thinking about what a better time Jacob is having playing.
Oh, please don't think about it.
I'm like, this battle would be so much cooler if I was this good at video games.
The worst feeling in the world while playing this game is when I'm dodging and I'm so far off that I have time to dodge and miss the dodge multiple times before the attacker goes
God.
this is...
Hey, take those. That's a win.
It's so
That reminds me of growing up when my brother would be like, huh, and you're like, ah,
yes,
no.
yes.
It's literally the same feeling. I'm like,
and then you get hit anyway.
God. Yeah, then it's as soon as you relax, then he punches you. That's literally what it feels like. I hate that feeling so much.
Do you guys like that there's a gun?
Oh, I love that gun.
I love the way you
the
asked
gun.
that.
so
like
into
the gun?
that gun.
And I love
Yeah.
how many things you can do. Again,
Yes.
just the ability to stack these different things that affect other things. And especially the gun's usefulness in doing things like, there's a thing I'm working on right now that will be even better for breaking shields, but like there's just different things where you're like, okay, well, Gustav starts with a pretty high amount of AP that he doesn't necessarily need right away, so I will just simply break the shield with him first and, use the gun to do that. And anytime an enemy has a big glowing spot that does a ton of damage right off the bat, it's very satisfying. I'm a big fan of the gun.
Oh, hang on,
you wanna hear
Twitch chat.
my,
Hang on, Monsieur. Twitch chat says you should mark an enemy before you take the cheap shot at their weak point, which I've never done, but of course that makes sense.
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
can make it even
I use
more
the mark.
explosive.
I use the mark thing so much.
Yeah, so I love the gun for a lot of reasons. I reached for the gun in Chicago parlance, but like it's so handy and it's so nice. Just when you have enemies that have like 4 HP left that are just dangling on, just to feel like you don't have to waste a turn on them. That is a game changer for turn-based RPGs. To be like, okay, pop shot, you're done, moving on.
That's very Persona 5. That's like
And when you
very
get
Persona.
that,
Oh, that's in Persona?
yeah,
Never
when you
mind
get that picto that like adds, you get 3 AP when someone dies, so you can like time it strategically to be like, I'm going to use 3 shots on this because that will kill him, and then I get all 3 of those shots back.
Yes. Oh.
I feel very smart sometimes playing this game, and that's a great thing for a video game to be able to do.
Do you want to hear when I was really stupid for the first like 3 hours when I didn't realize shooting the gun costs an AP
I was
point?
right there with you, Haley. I was taking the notes. I'm like, why am I just not using this gun all the time?
I know. I'm like, why wouldn't everyone just shoot 8 bullets and then take your turn? And then, like, it took me so long to realize, like, why do I never have the ability to use any turns?
Right.
This game sucks. And then I was like, oh, I'm shooting all my turns away.
Also, I felt like a real doofus for being like, I'm using overcharge before it's charged up repeatedly. Like, okay, that is like the best move if you just give it some time to get to the 10 out of 10. Yeah, A. Cole wrote in saying, when Gustav yells, "This is weak," during his overcharge and still kills the enemy, do you ever feel guilty? Is it just me? Yeah, it's just you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like how much the animation changes too, where when you're using it, it's not fully charged. You just kind of like pokes them with it as compared to the enormous like jump in the air to smite them.
Yeah, he's like, oh, whatever, here you go.
Whenever someone gets introduced as a new character, at least just Mael, and then the what's the last character's name? I feel bad, I can't pronounce it, but
We don't know her yet.
CL?
yeah, like her card-based mechanic
Oh
when
my
she
God.
first came on. I'm like, what's happening? It's almost a little bit too much. I don't know
CL
if it
has
goes
a
away.
lot going on. Yeah.
It's a lot. Is
I
it
was-
too much?
I was so into her in the arena. I'm like, I love this lady's weapon. I like her look. I like everything about her. And then in tutorial, I was like, sun and moon, but then twilight combo. It's like, okay, this will take some time to learn. I'm not saying no, but I'm just gonna. That's on the
It's
back
a lot
burner.
at once. Like if you have a moon ability and then a sun moonbeam hits your moonbeam twilight sun, and I'm like, I don't know. I just was hitting X and hoping things died.
I mean, all that being said, I think it is awesome that every character is so radically different. You know, I'm trying to think if there's any real comparison in like turn-based games for having such unique characters. Like, you know, I like Rebirth Combat. I love how unique all those characters are and stuff. But just the
And
idea
it's
of like having new
Metaphor.
systems.
Metaphor has the archetypes or whatever,
Yeah.
but everyone can have each one, and so it doesn't feel as like special to them necessarily. And this does not, you know, you have a skill tree, you have different skills that you can get, but like every character is going to be basically playing this game for the whole game. You know, like CL is not going to stop using cards at some point. And so it does feel really complicated right off the bat because it needs to have enough depth to take you to the end.
I do like how it's a lot of build up for benefit later, which is often lacking in JRPGs. It's usually just like time to hit them with my burn attack. Now they're burning, but here it's like if I do this first, then 3 rounds from now, then I can be in whatever the attack position that Mael goes into that's purple to do the extra damage or like whatever. Virtuoso. It kind of reminds me of like more CRPG mechanics. Like Baldur's Gate 3 is a lot of like, I'm going to buff, do this, put this person up on a hill so that they have the advantage to look down at them and then hit them. Like it's reminding me more of strategy in that way.
her mechanics definitely, they jump off the page as like this is going to be really interesting and really overpowered.
The new character?
But I had already just kind of like set up my party in a way where they're all feeding each other and helping each other that I'm like, to redo all of this? Like, I have to totally re-strategize. So I just haven't done that yet because I don't know.
Yep.
That feels like so much work.
The menus are work, I will say. The menus aren't fun. Going in there to move the pictos around and the Lumi whatevers and reset everything up, I'm like, oh, it's like a shift at the factory. I hate going in there to do that stuff.
Yep. And then
you gotta do it like every level.
Yes, there's a lot of jumping in, like every camp, like, oh, do I have to upgrade again? Okay, sure. Should I wait a little bit? Because it's a lot of just diving in there for the menus. Am I alone for... The stances are the one thing I feel like I haven't really mastered at this point. I just probably should look at that. Yeah, I should probably look at that kind of guide again because I feel like, hey, whatever happens with you, but I'm not strategically doing anything with your stances yet.
It's very strategy heavy, and you should definitely look at your tree because there are... I thought my L was like fine until there was a certain thing that I unlocked that basically was... But rather than juggling between offensive and defensive and burn stuff, you start juggling with the virtuoso stance and burn and all of that, and that just it opens up a very if you have figured out Lune and the kind of like juggling around the different stains, it's not that different. It's just a different juggling.
I love Lune and the stains. I think that's a really cool idea of just trying to slowly build up the meter. It reminds me a little bit of Chrono Cross of like, okay, managing the magic, which spells are going up in the corner there to try and optimize that. But yeah, I mean, I saw people in the Discord walking through as much strategy I'm putting into setting up the other people. They kind of have that same idea of like, really what it is just using Lune's ice power, which, what is it? Yeah, then like puts blue stains on the board, then using Mael to have burns and fire be like twice as effective for 2 rounds or something, and then using the fire move from Lune, which then is more powerful because there was ice stain on the board, and that just does El Gigante numbers there. That's the most effective thing I found, I think.
My thing that I found early was just like Mael and Virtuoso stance does 200% damage.
Okay.
Like it is unbelievably strong. And she starts with a skill that's just like does even more damage to marked enemies is what it says.
Yes.
And if you can get someone marked and Mael and Virtuoso stance and hit them with that move, the battle is over. Like it will just like it will wipe anyone off the board. And so like pretty early, my whole strategy just kind of shifted to like, I just need to get my Ellen Virtuoso stance. And she has a skill that is like, if the enemy is burning and you hit them with this, switch to Virtuoso. And that was,
I use that,
that's basically what I used.
Yeah. I use that as fast as possible.
Malachite Geist says they're talking to the exact thing with the Virtuoso stance, saying, I've been able to coax, does fully 10 times the damage. I've been able to coax out of Gustave or Lune. But I love that the skill describes itself as, quote, low physical damage. I love a humble skill description for that per se skill, because that, in that stance, is just annihilating fools, apparently. I am digging this combat a lot. Like, I understand the idea of, like, I've been thinking about this a lot while not playing the game. And it's such a fun feeling of always just being like, okay, like I'm not dying very often. I'm making decent progress. I'm doing all right. But at the same time, there's always this feeling of like, if I sat down and rearranged everything and studied everything and built things up again and paid attention to what can feed the other thing, I feel like I can optimize this thing, MinnMax it 6 ways to Sunday. And that's such a fun feeling in RPG of like, I can get through, but I know if I just give it a solid 5 minutes of studying, I could double my effectiveness of this combat. And it's such a nice feeling to have.
It also is nice how every fight could go so bad in 2 seconds if you just like look at your phone or like someone starts talking to you. You're like, shut up! I just dodge. Like it could go so bad. I grinded for right before I was fighting the Gestrel, their like special uniform guy with the rockets. They're like, we're gonna test him out on you. I died to him a few too many times, and I was like, I might just go grind and just like hang out in this area and kill the same guy a few times in order to get better at parrying. I thought this is where it really came through to me, is like, wow, this game's really good, because I was fighting the same two dudes over and over, and the fight was different every time. Sometimes I robbed them and it took like 3 hits. Sometimes I barely survived. Sometimes Mael was dead at the end. Sometimes Lune was dead at the end. And this was just 2 dudes on the side of the road. You know, I was like, how do you create a game where every single fight could be 15 different variations of success? That's really an insane thing to brag about. That makes every fight matter now.
Yep.
Should we do a quick Picto Lumina school explanation, because it took me
they did not explain that well
past this point in the game to just kind of understand what I should be doing, and I would love to impart that information.
Yeah. So as far as I understand it, and this is where you all need to help me, is it just a matter of like you equip the Pictos, and then after 4 battles you can use that skill without having the Picto equipped? Is that what's going on
here?
But
I think it's more than 4 battles, because I think the skill has to activate in some way.
No, it is just 4, but you... Oh. So this is one part of it, of like, you find it, and it's a materia orb, you know, and you can slot it into one person's thing, and then you win 4 battles with it, and then it goes into that big list of Luminas that anyone can activate if they have enough points to activate it. But, and this is what I didn't realize, and those have different point costs. So some of them are pretty minimal, and they might only cost 1 point, and you get more points every time you level up. You get an additional like skill point that you can attribute to those. Some of them cost 10 or 15, others cost 1 or 3. And so at first what I was doing was like, well, I'm going to slot the ones, you know, I'm going to keep as Pictos the most expensive ones, you know, that might cost 15, because then I won't have to, you know, allocate all those points to them. But what I didn't realize until way too late is that they do have a level attached to them. Yeah. And if you look at the level, they're actually giving significant stat bonuses as well. So like the Picto that you have equipped shouldn't just be the one that is most expensive to, you know, point equip as a Lumina. You should also look at it, because they will give like plus 15% crit chance and, you know, a health bonus or something, like really big bonuses. And so I like started dying pretty quickly at some point, and I was like, what am I doing? And I realized that I still had very low level Pictos equipped, and you really need to keep equipping higher level ones to keep your characters like on track and kind of strong enough to keep playing the game.
Okay, that's helpful. And that's just in the little description underneath the Picto thing.
Yeah,
so it'll be like on the left side of it.
Okay.
Yeah, and you only get those stat bonuses if they are equipped as Pictos, and not if they are equipped when they're Luminas. You only get the perks. When they're Pictos, you get the perk plus the stat bonus.
Do they still list them in the Lumina equipping menu for stat bonus?
They don't list the stat bonuses in the Lumina equipping menu. They only list them in the Picto menu. They're bad names, and it's a confusing system to understand. It's the biggest jump that Metaphor has on this game, is that Metaphor is crystal clear compared to this system.
Kelsey, you know what we're in right now? You know
what's that?
You know what we're doing right now, Kelsey?
What are we doing right now?
Hell, we're having a little Picto chat. God damn.
I thought you were gonna do an ad read or something.
Are we gonna color in the whole screen?
Whoa! Hey, we're here all night, folks. Unless we get gommaged off the stage. Haley, you're gonna say something much more important?
No, that was really funny. I think I was gonna say, God, I don't know. Your joke was the joke's too funny.
I'm not going back to jail. Andres R writes in and says, the only mechanic I'm having difficulty engaging with is the Pictos. While I appreciate having options, I feel they may have gone overboard with the sheer number of Pictos available.
Yes.
There is a lot. The Luminas, I think, is when you see the big master list, is where it's like, okay, there's so much happening.
Remember
here.
when we saw the trailer? There's a trailer, I want to say like 6 months ago, and it showed us one of the menus, and all of us went, ew! Like we all went, yuck!
And it was the
that's
Picto
not
menu?
in the game. Like that's what it feels like.
It's true, but my defense of it is they do all genuinely do cool stuff. Like there is no 3% resist to poison here. You know, it's like the numbers are 25%. It's like it's very noticeable when you have them equipped. And so even though there are a lot of them and it gets really unwieldy, I was never like, I have to equip, 10 of these to even make a noticeable difference. Like every time you swap one out, you can tell what it's doing immediately.
What are you all emphasizing? Because for me, I'm like, if it's like improving the break is something I just ignore largely in this thing. Should I get over that? Are there things that I should be pushing on stats more than just burn?
It's useful in big fights, the break, especially the fight with the guy that eats one of your people.
That's true.
Breaking brings them back for a little bit. But I am doing a lot of stuff with marking and burning.
Yep, same here.
I do categorization of them. So there's a lot of them that's like, if you use the gun, something happens. So I put all of those on one person. And then if you're the person to kill somebody, all this stuff happens, put that all in there. And then as long as I remember, like Gustav's the gun guy or something, then I actually remember to do those things. Because otherwise, if everyone has them, then I just forget and then don't utilize them well enough.
I am also using luck as a stat in this game so much more than I usually do. Just because there's so many things that you can do with crits.
Interesting.
And with and just with like, this will burn X% of the time or whatever percent of the time. And like just your luck does a lot in this game, as it turns out.
I was watching Kyle Bossman's stream and he's only leveling up might. Nothing else. It's really funny.
I do sometimes also, to keep going back to the metaphor comparison. You get so many points that in metaphor they kind of automatically assigned the points to your various attributes, and in this I was never quite clear on like, should I be keeping all of these fairly consistent, or should I be like focusing on one thing specifically? I mean, it's like when you get a weapon, the weapon will be like, okay, this also has like a scaling with speed, so like that's a good thing to level up or whatever. And they give you a lot of rerolls as well, but you level up really fast and they give you 3 points per level up. I was like I kind of felt that was less noticeable to me than the Luminas of like, what is this doing?
Well, I mean, so I've just been kind of whatever I feel like. Starting out, I was like, Lune, she's my lucky gal. I'm going all in on this. Isn't it fun to kind of spin the build this way? But then it's like, okay, once the weapons come into play, then it's like whatever weapon I have equipped, I just steer it that direction. But is that even foolhardy? I mean, if I'm going to be swapping weapons eventually, then I start steering another direction, or is that just how I have a well-rounded character?
Depends how much time you want to spend in those menus, honestly. It's like my mental block of it. If like I have a burn
that's also
build, I'm like, I don't want to switch it because I don't want to go in the menus.
Yeah.
That is also why they give you so many rerolls throughout the game, though. So they expect that you'll do it eventually. I have not done a total scrub of anyone yet, but I suspect that I will at some point when I find a weapon that I'm like, this requires me to kind of redo my strategy here.
It is fun to see just the layers of, okay, this is more Soulsy here, like realizing, okay, I have smithing stones from Elden Ring for these weapons, and the stat changes when you level up those weapons. It's like, holy crap.
This is quintuple.
Yeah, it is monstrous. So at first when it was like, I kept getting that item, I'm like, okay, I can use it at the camp, whatever, I'll get to it eventually. Then I got to the point of like, wait, am I not supposed to be upgrading my weapons at the camp? I don't see any option for that. And then that was the exact camp experience where suddenly it's like Mael's friend, who's the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life, is like, okay, this is where you're coming into play. I see. What is his name?
I just call him Faceless Guy in my head.
Yeah, that's curator.
The curator's a good name for a weirdo.
He's painty.
That reveal
isn't that the name of the
him.
guy from the Dark Anthology Pictures collection? I think he's also called the curator.
Literally no one in the world except you knows Haley.
Wait, pictures, paintings.
Those are okay.
Please, I'm more of a World According to Blarney Stone man. What was the name of that game that was like on Game Informer's last cover? The casting of Frank
Oh,
Stone.
the casting of Frank Stone.
The world according. I kissed the Blarney Stone.
Kissing of the Blarney Stone guy.
Whatever that freaking game was called.
Casting of Frank Stone. I laughed so hard my beret fell off.
Whoa, whoa.
This wig is itchy.
Cyrus writes in, so we needed a French studio to come around and fix the biggest legacy problems of JRPGs. We finally have dead characters gaining XP after a battle. That is a very fun, like, I really held my breath the first battle I finished when somebody was dead. And it's like, once I saw that XP part change, I was like, okay, thank God. All
Wait,
right,
I thought they didn't. Why did I?
I wasn't
feel
sure, or do they gain less?
Oh, is it less?
I'm not sure.
I could have sworn I had a time where Mael was dead and hers went up to 0, and then the other people went up.
Really? I could have sworn. I could have sworn more.
I could have sworn.
I could have sworn in French.
I think it is less. I think it might be like the amount that, because it's also less of a character isn't in your party. They don't level at the same rate, so it might be the same as that.
Pokemon style. Joe W says, being able to 100% parry everything that throws at you not only makes you feel amazing, but it speeds up the fights a massive amount.
Good for you. That sounds great.
I looked over at Kelsey to see her reaction to that.
Full
comment.
Christian Bale. Good for you. But speeds up the fight by a massive amount, and you get more XP. It's such a satisfying loop that I completely don't mind fighting through the same types of mobs in the early stages again. That is an interesting idea of, like, if you fight the same mobs again, it's just like parry, 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 done, 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 done. Because you just know their attacks so much at that point.
Must be nice.
20 Uno says, I'm kind of confused by the Sekiro comparisons. It makes the parrying sound way less accessible than it is. Again, cover yours, Kelsey. It's far more like parrying and blocking in Paper Mario 1000 Year Door than Sekiro.
That's what Kyle said in his Game Informer review. I was like, interesting.
Let's see. The Aggro Craig writes in, says, you must be some big fat dummy if you can't parry. Fake ass gamer boys. It's weird. No. Sorry. The Aggro Craig says, as a Souls-like hater, I've been tricked into enjoying the Souls-like elements of this game. This game rules, and it's going to need a vinyl. I'm going to need a vinyl of the OST ASAP, of the soundtrack ASAP. I'm with you, Aggro Craig.
I'm already making that.
I certainly hope so. Yeah, I was tickled pink when they added the jumps in there. I thought that was such a cool idea. Like, yeah, why would I be able to jump?
Off, which is the point?
Well,
but they're the easiest though, because there's just like a big symbol on screen that's like jump time.
I like that they have the most gracious of times, but they're so infrequent that then when they're like jump, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I can even do that, and you have to like jolt up.
But I feel the same way. Yeah, by the time an enemy requires me to jump again, I'm like, oh yeah, you can jump. What button is that?
I was thrown off, and the main time I wanted kind of like that restart. This entire boss battle sequence was, I forget if it was a boss or normal enemy, but there's one who does like a big jump. And he's like, all right, he's going to jump and then land. I'm like, okay, well, this seems like the most obvious thing in the world. It's like an earthquake thing. Like, you just jump right when he lands. But nope, that's not it. You still get hit every time he lands. Like, okay, well, it feels like a jumping scenario, and I want more of jumping scenarios because it's fun to do that little attack. Except for when they have like the jump, and you do that, do your little quick attack with it, and then I always feel like, well, that's it, end of the combo. But then some enemies have like an attack after the jump. Like, oh, you dirty dogs. Of course you have an attack after the jump. It's fun. It's fun when they're little stinkers like that, I suppose. Rainbow says, I wish enemy weaknesses and resistances were displayed. I don't want to have to remember every...
Or accessible somewhere.
Yes.
There's a compendium that I can look back at again. This is the kind of stuff where, when I was saying, like, there's these little things every once in a while that's like, this is the first game this studio has made. This is one of them where I'm like, there's nowhere where this is recorded. I don't expect to see it floating above their head, but like, it's just not recorded anywhere at all.
And it's tough to tell how much of it's that, like, new team, first project, new IP, all that stuff, versus like, they just want you to be paying more attention. It kind of is in the same camp.
I think it's look, we were talking about Blueprint's journal. This is a journal game. Like when and I did not write down enemy weaknesses, and I do wish that they were just floating above their head, honestly. But like, I was doing a lot of writing down like strong enemy here that I can't remember to come back to, because they often do have like unique stuff. And like, I think I paid more attention to the game world because it didn't have menus remembering stuff for me.
I don't want that in an RPG, and maybe that's like, I get it. But there's too much. Blueprints is a very, it's a game that kind of goes on forever, obviously, but like, it is also a fairly contained thing, and it's all puzzles. This is like, first of all, we have not even talked about, I am lost all the time in this game. I have no sense of direction, and everywhere, other than in the overworld's fine, because it at least has a map
has landmarks.
And landmarks, and you can like tell which direction you're pointing. I am so lost all the time in these distinct areas. I have retraced my steps back embarrassing amounts. If I'm not paying attention to exactly what was next to this flag, I will run around in a circle and think I have found the next flag when it was just the same one I was at again. And I think this game is taking me twice as long because I just don't have a very good sense of direction.
I am with you, Kelsey. Yeah.
I get that this was an artistic choice for them. I still think it's the wrong one. I think there needs to be some level.
There needs to be a map.
It doesn't have to be, or if not a mini map, just some level of seeing where my steps were traced before, just something so I can orient myself. I don't personally think there's enough landmarks in any of these places to like get a clear sense. Like there are landmarks obviously, but like they're not. It's not like, oh, this is the only area with a big red tree or whatever, so like I'll remember that. It's like, yeah, you got this piece of a building that looks, kind of similar to this other piece of a building that you'll see over there. And they are different, but they,
I had a heart attack when you get to that forest leading up to the Gestrel village, and they're like, yeah, it's kind of designed like a maze, so it's tough to find. I was like, oh no, don't add a maze. But it wasn't that maze. It actually wasn't that confusing. But I am right there with you, Kelsey. I am getting lost a lot. It's that moment of when I get out of battle, and I'm like, oh no, which direction was I facing? I came around this way to do the quick attack. So here's something. Jaren Thickeroni with Cheese, as they're also known with, they say this game is exceptionally well designed. Novalis in the Deepest Dive channel in the Discord alerted me to the fact that the critical path is marked with lights. This has sped up my exploration significantly since I know where to look for optional secrets and treasures. And I saw this online too. There's like lamps or lights frequently that are technically showing you the main path in environments.
But they don't show me the direction, and if I've gone right and then I come back and I don't remember which way I've come from, I will backtrack all the way to the beginning. But that's a fair point. But
I'm with you.
I heard the developers say something, I can't remember what it was because I can't remember which video it was in, but they mentioned something about like, we didn't want to put a mini-map in. We thought that, people wouldn't pay as close attention to the game world. And they're probably right, but like, that is probably the only thing that is truly upsetting me about this game. Is there have been a couple of times where I have felt genuinely lost, absolutely no idea where to go, and that's just not fun. Like, it's not fun when I'm just like, I think I'm just gonna have to backtrack all the way to the beginning and start this whole thing over again because I just have no idea.
Yeah, it made me go back and look at footage of Final Fantasy X again and be like, yeah, no, that map is like crucial in Final Fantasy X's little dungeons and stuff, just to have that in the corner of the screen. But I understand the lack of immersion from it. But yeah, Brian W. is right there with you saying, I just really want a mini-map. I feel it, but isn't it kind of charming how nostalgic it is just to get confused in a game again like we did back in the old days, the good old times, everybody?
Sometimes when you fight an enemy, when you are done with the battle, it points you in a different direction than right? what you were facing. I think so. Okay. I certainly feel like that has happened to me a bunch of times.
It feels that way, yeah. You talked about the, keeping a journal in this game. You don't have to because Gustav is keeping his own journal. He's saving it for...
Yeah, but it doesn't write down big guy too hard to fight right now, left-hand side.
It's just, I guess life is worth living, yada, yada, yada.
Just like gestrels are real. Isn't that neat?
I love you.
Can I tell you guys the most embarrassing thing I have encountered in this game?
Sure.
When you're talking to the gestrels, I'm like, that's so funny. How are they understanding them? They're speaking a little like fairy language or whatever. They're speaking French. They're just speaking French. I thought it was a fake made-up language.
They're speaking French.
They're just speaking French.
I didn't realize that.
They were like,
I thought it was just like some mystical fairy language, and then I was like, I wonder why they, it's not explained why they can just understand this. It's just French.
That's amazing.
I did not know that until this moment. I thought it was some fantastical language.
Okay, good. I'm not alone.
French is real? Kelsey
Americans
Sims
and not knowing French exists.
Sorry. Wow. Kelsey Sims writes in and says, this game is French as hell, but why is everyone British? I think there's even an Irish accent in the prologue. The only remotely French-sounding character I've heard of the Gestrels, just because it's but it's just typical little guy gibberish.
Big.
So is it? So the guess was to the point that if you speak French, you can understand exactly what they're saying, or is it just French-inspired gibberish? You're saying it's 100% French?
They're speaking
I think
French.
it's just French.
God
I think
damn.
it's at least sped up.
It's high pitched French to be like
I think
like up here, but
So that's like Quebec French?
I don't think
Quebecois.
I think it's fine that they don't have French accents. I think that would be like it's no more immersion breaking to me to have a character speaking with a British accent than with like a French accent, because it's like,
But
well, they
that's
wouldn't be
us.
speaking with a French accent, they'd be speaking French.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's interesting.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, because it feels like a weird choice in English, but like if you are a French person playing this game, you are not going to be experiencing that because you're going to be playing it in French.
Right.
So I feel like the only time that would be weird is if you are someone who speaks French but chose to play this game in English, and then you'd be like, yeah, why do they not sound French?
Yeah.
I mean, and it also, it's like, to be fair, I don't know the French actors. Maybe they are a big deal, but it seems like their A-list talent money is on the English actors. Like they don't have French Daredevil voicing Gustave, as far as I know. So it's like I actually thought about playing it in French because like I always play the Yakuza games in Japanese because that just feels appropriate. But here it felt, I was like, they spent their money on the English actors, you know. So I want to hear Andy Serkis.
Also, they're still cursing in French.
I love that.
Which there were a couple times where I have looked up. Basically, anytime I like think a word is like a fantastical thing, it's just French. So like gommage, by the way, is just like to scrub or erase. Like they're just saying people disappeared. But in French. And yeah, so there are times where someone's sitting there and they make a little expression, and I'm like, that's got to be French. Oh, that's French for shit. Okay.
Moodkenstein says, pleasantly surprised by the use of the French word merde. Sorry if I'm butchering
Death.
that. Yeah. They say, my old French teacher in high school used to say it, and it brought back some fun memories. Would MinnMax bleep merde? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, everybody.
Merde.
No, we're not going to bleep
Merde.
it. And that does just mean apparently. So and death is the same thing?
Well, like, yeah, I'm sure it comes from the same
root
or
word.
something.
How about pouton?
That's good. That's good.
That's the other one that they say.
You really nailed it. Oh my God.
That's good.
The roaming around. Seth M says, an underwater zone? Hell yeah. I'm a marine science teacher and I heard find the weird coral and thought like, okay, it's going to be like an alien coral. Cool. Then walking in the zone and realizing I was underwater, yet walking around like I was on land, and then immediately seeing a cuttlefish. I said, hell yes, said Seth. Hell yeah.
I love that.
Hell yeah. Congratulations.
I love that they don't explain. They're just like, yeah, we breathe underwater,
That's
or there
weird
is no
here.
water, or fish fly, or something.
Yeah, I just assumed there was no water, and
But there's bubbles.
The bubbles are confusing. I found
Okay.
it every once in a while. Like
you can
there's
blow
like
bubbles in real life.
That's true, but who's blowing them? The squirrels?
when there was like a platforming section, I had to do like reassess my brain. Like that's right, it's not floaty physics. It is just like normal Earth physics as I'm jumping around as there's bubbles surrounding me. Tess wrote in saying in an interview on Creative Blog, the art director Nicholas Maxon Francombe mentions how they couldn't do underwater gameplay, so instead they tried to make a realistic version of SpongeBob. And that was the inspiration.
That's what it's the vibe is. It's totally
I kind of love that.
SpongeBob.
They were like, we would have done it underwater, but like that's a lot of work. So instead, it's like just this most beautiful, unique thing you've ever seen in a video game.
I
Like, no
love
one's
that,
just
like-
thought to delete the water part of being underwater before.
It's like when SpongeBob has campfires, and you're like, sure.
Yep.
Like, who cares?
Who cares? Yeah, so on the hunt for Mael, and then you walk into a giant mansion that looks like the mansion that the game was developed in, apparently, from that Xbox Direct where we saw.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a ton of doors. Credence is with you, Haley, saying, "Let me open all the doors. What's behind the doors?"
Stupid. At least, or don't have them interactable. What
I mean,
are you
we
doing?
don't. There's might be something going on with those. People were talking about the doors in a way that I didn't really understand, and so.
You have to engage with them in the right order or something.
Well, tell me if this stuff makes sense to you. Dorwin wrote out saying there is now twice.
Dorwin?
I'm sorry, Drowrin. I read it as Dorwin because I'm door crazy.
Because it's door, the brain.
Dwarrin writes in and says, this is now twice that we can find a door to the manor. On both occasions, there were new secrets to discover within it. Could totally be nothing more than a cute way to hide some collectibles, but since we found Mael here and the doors were in important locations, I think there's more to it than that, and I'm dying to learn more about it. Has anybody found a door to the manor? This is a thing? I haven't found that. Is that a secret?
No, I don't know what they mean.
Jacob, does that make sense for this chunk of the game?
Yes, and I think you can. I don't think. I mean, it's like it's not a story spoiler, and it's mechanically. I think you could do this. There are doors around the world that you can find, and you open them, and you are back in the manor.
Awesome. Okay.
That's cool.
And then
So
you
they
come out
open
of
up.
one of the locked doors.
Okay, so it's a...
You unlock all of the doors and wait, and then if you walk back through it, do you get back to that area?
I don't think so. It's not like a fast travel hub. It's you come out into the manor, and then when you walk out the main doors, you just come out the one you just went in.
Cool. Okay, yeah, Brockety Brock says there's one that you walk into, and there's a painted picture of the dev team in there that made them all choked up.
cute.
That's super cool. I think I saw that in the Discord there. Yeah, finding Mael, I thought it was so sweet. I am fully in the Mael camp of like loving her as a character. And like when you see her and she's like, and she looks so wrecked and she goes, are you real? It's like again, just affirming how cool this world is, that she's seen so much wild stuff that if she sees, you know, her brother
Faceless
parenting figure, like,
Yeah, well, and then you find out her only friend is the scariest thing you've ever seen.
and like the music sting when the curator's like, bah, like poking his head from behind the door. This is terrifying. He is the scariest character I've ever seen in the game.
She's like, hey.
Yeah, she's like, she's like, you want to come back to camp with us? Like, at night? You're going to let him in the camp in the woods at night? Are you out of your mind, Mael? No. But I guess
I love that
makes sense.
scene. I also love. I wrote this down because it was such a strange, like, humorous moment. I don't know if it was even supposed to be funny. Because she was like, are you real? And then eventually they hug and she's like, you sure smell real enough. And then Gustav says, no, I don't. Have you ever, like, has anyone ever told you smell and you're just like, nope, you're wrong? What does that mean?
It would happen all the time. I got to tell you, as somebody who slept with a lot of Game Informer editors while on work trips, and being like, boy, snoring was rough.
I'm sorry, you did what?
telling HR.
Yeah, slept in the same hotel room
Come right now.
where we made passionate love to each other. No, slept in the same hotel room and it'd be like, oh man, that snoring was rough last night. And they're like, I don't snore. I'm like, what? You were snoring the entire night. Oh
my
so
God.
many freaking editors
cannot
insisted.
perceive this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
Or
get
when
They're
close.
so confident in their lack of snoring, something they have no ability
It's
to
so
know about
stupid.
themselves.
My dad will fall asleep on the couch snoring, and you'll go, Dad, you're snoring. And every time he goes, no, I wasn't even asleep. I'm like, why are you like that? Just, yes, you were.
And also, can you imagine
Do you
if
think
we
we
are
just
making
make
this
this
up?
up?
Yeah, we should be locked up if we're doing
no,
that to
now
people.
I record a quick clip, get it ready, turn it around and say, Dad, you're snoring. And when he says no, I hit play immediately and then have the receipt.
And then he uses data strength to try and snap your phone in half.
And he says, Christmas is canceled. And I go, damn it.
Merd! Pizza for breakfast writes in to say, I watched Hook. This is going places. I watched Hook for the first time in forever just a couple weeks ago. Blank check listener, no doubt, Jacob Giller. I hadn't seen it in probably 20 years. My memory of Rufio, of course, is that he was the older one, the badass, the grown-up. The overwhelming sense I got this time was just how young he really is. He's just a kid, a child, really. Anyway, Mael's got me messed up, is the conclusion. Just trying to take care of this little
that
girl
really was going places.
who's punching above her
Anyways.
weight. And I love encountering her here and her just having that experience where it's like, hey, there's a bunch of corpses of Nevrons here. And she's like, well, I mean, I got outside of the manor a little bit. Like, I still kicked some ass and then got back in. Like, you know, cool curator, help me out
That's
here.
why she's leveled up.
Oh, of course, yeah. It's so affirming when you get a new character in an RPG and you're like a couple levels ahead of them. I don't know if you had that experience. I'm like, okay, good. I'm ahead of the game's curve. I'm ahead of
I
where they
love
think I
that.
should be at this moment.
I wonder if they just do that automatically. What level was the last character we got for you guys? She was 15 for me.
Ooh, yeah, I think that's right for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm maybe like 15 or 16, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they adjust it
remember.
based on your
That's
level.
good.
I think it's just
I'm coming off of playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, which, like, you know, remember when people were weirdly excited about Avowed having no level scaling? And I
Yeah.
remember, Ben, you and I in particular were like, that's a weird thing for people to be really excited about.
I
And then
didn't say
ever
that.
since then, you said it with me. And then ever since then, I'm like so against level scaling. Now I've realized, like, it's so annoying because like I was playing Shadows to switch to a whole different RPG for a second. The level scaling, that's so annoying. As soon as you're strong, everything else is just as strong as you. Nothing matters. Why even grind? So stupid. So I like when games don't do that, like this one. And it sounds like if she's level 15, good. And I was level 17 at that point. So I was like, give myself a pat in the back. I was like, I'm doing great.
You know, it'd be really
even
cool.
If I can't parry. What?
You know, it'd be really cool is if you hit level 33 and then your character just goes away forever.
And she disappears.
It's like, okay,
that would actually be great.
Start the game over again. You have to beat it before you hit level 33 because the paintress, she knows more than just ages. She's looking around at all these stats. She sees
Are you
your
implying
strength.
that when you're level 1, you're 1 years old?
It feels like it, yeah.
Here's a baby.
Let's see. Benji Kong says, going off the beaten path and stumbling upon the chromatic troubadour optional boss gave me big Elden Ring vibes, especially getting a sweet weapon for Lune as a reward for dealing with that pesky tromboner. Yeah, did you guys try and fight any of those huge chromatic freaks, like that huge guy in the map and stuff?
I tried and failed.
Okay.
I did not even really try with the trumpet one because his moves were I could not even come close to understanding his moves. Like he's like distracting you with other moves while he's readying his move.
Yeah.
It was completely like inscrutable to me. I did try the Chroma Lancer, I think, the guy at the kind of towards the beginning. And I got really close a couple of times, and I eventually was just like, I have to make it to this point by the time we record. I can't spend all day on this. But that, I mean, I thought those were cool. I thought they were, like, clearly very challenging. But that is the cool thing about this game, is that if you are perfect at your dodges and parrying, like, nothing is off limits, technically.
Yep, for sure.
And anything with a chromatic label is basically a unique enemy that will give you a unique something.
Okay.
So it's always, you don't have to fight them when you meet them. You can totally write them down in your little blueprints journal, but they're worth coming back to because also it's like you never really get gear or pictos that you are over leveled for. Like sometimes you'll get a weapon and you'll be like, that doesn't really match my playstyle, but like you can level all the weapons all the way up, and any picto, from the first level to the last can have a really useful perk in it. And I'm doing there is a new game plus, and so I'm playing that, and I found some pictos that I'm sure I could have found on the first playthrough in like the first level, and I was like, oh my god, I wish I had that for the whole rest of the game that I have previously played.
Oh gosh. I do love having just the huge things in the world. It's a little bit like a weapon in Final Fantasy VII and stuff back in the day, just having that giant beast out there. It's very cool. Or
a little bit like Xenoblade Chronicles.
Check it out, everybody. Don't forget about Xenoblade, our dear friend. Are you playing X at all, Kelsey?
No, just like completely out of I don't have time now. I would love to be. But
in a perfect world, we all be playing and enjoying Xenoblade Chronicles X. Absolutely. We had, I want to talk about this. Mr. Donuts writes in, and of course, Mr. Donuts has one thing to say and one thing only to say.
I love donuts.
Yum, yum, yum. Eat them up. Mr. Donuts says, for what I think is Lorien Testard's first big composing gig in games, at least, it's pretty remarkable how great a job he's done. With how much praise is pouring out from the internet, I'd be surprised if this game didn't show up in the Game Awards nominations for the best soundtracks. It'd be fun to hear the Game Awards orchestra do a mix of this. Oh my God. That would be fun.
Did you see he was like hired based on like the developers just like found his SoundCloud?
That's what Mr. Donuts was going to say. Yeah, just all based on
literally,
that SoundCloud.
it's the Balatro story again. It's just like rando on the internet.
It is
so cool.
It is so good. Like just the music in that opening town, and maybe it is the mix. People are saying the mix is way off in the game overall, which I hear ya. I also hear that music just unnecessarily loud at times, but I think it helps the game. Maybe it's kind of some of the clumsy edges of the game. That's the audio version of it, but it's charming in a way.
And my favorite, again, it is the FF7 remake and rebirth thing where you hear something and you go, what? Like this genre? What's the name of the boss with the flower?
Oh, Go Blue?
Go Blue?
Go Blue,
Go Blue's
Blobby.
theme sounds like nothing else that you have heard up until that point. And when that starts playing, it is just like, I had no idea that the game could do this.
Here it is. Yeah, it's like you think you get the flavor
a hockey
of like
game.
Okay, like sad piano, got it. But yeah, that Go Blue fight that stands out in a big way. And then this one here, Spleen wrote in. By the Kenny Hamilton was the one who was in love with that last track. But Spleen wrote in saying, having an amazing experience so far with the game. Some combat music, like the ultimate Saka Patate, boss, really reminds me of certain tracks from Lumines. I think it's used effectively to get the player in the zone during encounters. And again, most of the soundtrack doesn't sound like this. So this is why these kind of electronica pieces are so impactful. But
It's just an Astrobot song.
I was just thinking that.
Isn't Daft Punk French? Maybe this is like their.
They are French.
Yeah.
always surprising. Like every time a new track comes in this game, it's like this and this and this. Like it just keeps adding to it in a beautiful way. But the floor is yours, Haley.
Oh, I was waiting for it. I went in Ben's chat when he was on stream, and I was like, I said most, and I backtracked to some because I got cyberbullied like crazy immediately. Some of these songs are pissing me off, though. I gotta say, to be the little devil's advocate. Obviously, it's a good OST, but some of these songs are I'm like, what's happening? There's one, the first area where you're just walking around. It's a looping song of a woman singing.
Yeah.
So that every 5 seconds you just hear in your dreams. In your dreams, like every 5 seconds, and I'm like, oh, like enough. I don't like when things loop and you can also distinctly hear the words, because then it just becomes like, especially with when I'm getting lost in those areas and I'm getting frustrated, I don't know where to go, and I keep hearing this bitch's voice every second go, your dreams, your dreams. I'm like, what's happening? It pisses me off. And then
I think it's tough to pull off.
Yeah,
like any song with lyrics and stuff in a video game.
When you're exploring, especially. But there's one that I don't know if it's just because my brain is wired a different way, but when you're fighting in the gestural arena, and they have music and then they had a guitar playing on top of it, and I'm genuinely curious if this was a glitch I was having where the guy who's playing guitar near the stage, you know, the gestural who's like jamming out near the stage?
Sure.
I think his audio was clipping into my gameplay in the thing, because no way those two songs were meant to connect. Or if it is a song on the OST, I want to sue, because it's literally like this song and then the guitar on top wasn't matching the tempo of the other song, to the point that I was getting like physically upset, and I was like, enough of this song, but you can't turn the volume off because I need to hear like the little chime.
Is it this?
There was an acoustic guitar over top of it, and it might have been an audio glitch.
Okay. It probably was, yeah. I'd have to imagine.
That's so funny, because it was just like, ding, dong, dong, ding, dong, like over top, and it was like completely clashing, and it was louder than that guitar.
Oh, God.
So what the hell? So maybe I take back some of it, but that was another one that I was just like, turn it off! Like, it was making me pretty mad. But I also don't... It's not my favorite thing. I do like it sometimes. It's hit or miss sometimes when you have a game that's clearly going for like artistic 17th century France vibe, and then it's just like techno beats. Like, yeah. I get how that can hit, and then sometimes I'm just kind of like, this just feels so clashing that it's taking me out. You know what I mean? It's a fine line French. Sometimes. It feels French.
That feels, yeah. I feel like those are like the two.
Yeah, you see that French opening Olympics thing?
But is it 17th century French, which is clearly what they're inspired by?
It's either the mime music or Daft Punk. That's all France has. It's those two things.
Just those two
Don't
things.
take it from
them. In the opening ceremony of the French Olympics, they had like a million Marie Antoinettes holding their own decapitated heads, and then they had like heavy metal guitarists under it. Like,
I guess so.
That is their vibe.
I guess sometimes it does work like that. The Glooby fight I thought rocked, and I was getting excited, and then other times I'm like, anyways, I'm clearly wrong, because the entire internet thinks the
You're
opposite
fine.
of me.
Be confident.
That
You're
ever
fine.
happened? That ever happened where you just disagree with the entire internet and you're like, oh well.
Yeah, chicken jockey's
Whatever.
good.
Yes.
So let's see.
Chicken jockey.
We got people are very excited about the Gestrels, obviously. Last Metroid. Oh, you already wrote in Master Metroid. I'm deleting yours. Sorry. One comment per person. Tone Pip says the proudest Final Fantasy tradition of all is the dopey village of the little weird guys, and they really pulled this one off. Hidden in a weird forest, little arena in there. This game is constantly doffing its cap to the classics without condescending or rolling its eyes, and I'm psyched. The Gestrels have so much personality here.
I love that they call the village chief the village chef. It is such a perfect little like cherry on top to that whole village and how they're all just dumb little guys. They're like, we don't know the word for chief. We think it's chef. That's excellent.
Maybe my...
Oh, it's French. That's the French spelling for chief.
Oh, no. Let me think. That's stupid.
I just double-checked it. I was like, watch that be the spelling for chief in French.
Dang it. Okay.
Everyone at home, boo France.
One of my hardest laughs in the whole game is when you talk to the doctor in the back who's like, I'm a doctor, I can help you, but no one is in as much pain as me. I'm in so much pain every day. And then like just off to the side, you find a diary of one of the expeditions, and he's like, God, I need medical attention. And the doctor keeps talking about how much he's in more pain than me. And it's just like someone's, and they're voiced. So it's like someone's last breath being like, I can't believe they have a doctor and he's not going to do anything.
These weird idiots. Oh, it's perfect. It is, yeah, it just reminded me of like, I don't know, the Black Mage Village in Final Fantasy IX. There's so many little nods here. And it's just like, this is what we want. Give us a village of charming, weird freaks where I'm excited to talk to everybody in this entire town because it's just unexpected. On top of the fact that they're all paintbrushes doing push-ups. Like, this is just a good idea for a village. Salsa by the Sea says, I'm the biggest fan of them. They're some of the dumbest MFers I've ever seen in a game. I love how exhausted Gustav starts to sound after talking to so many of them. One of them sold me a stick for 1,000 chroma. They're complete jerks, but you can't help but love them. Yeah, I totally fell for that too, where he's like, do you want the sword called Excalibur? It makes every other sword look like crap in comparison, and it can shoot lasers. Do you want to buy it for 1,000? It's like, yeah. And it's like, oh, it's just a stick. It's just a toy. What'd you think, man? It's like, okay. Of course they're dumb. I'll fall for it again and again. Let's see. Kunibert writes in, Kuni Bear, no doubt. What's the singer that I'm trying to think of the name of real fast?
Bon Iver?
Yeah, Bon Iver writes in, I'm so confused about how much time has passed between the arrival at the beach and the arrival in the Gestrel village. Is it Gestrel or Gestrel? I've been bouncing back. What is it?
Gestrel.
Is it Gestrel? So how much time has passed? Because to me, it felt like 1 to 2 days, but Ciel is already some kind of legendary arena fighter and very familiar with the village. Does anyone have an indicator of how much time has actually passed before we get to the arena?
How many campfire sleepies you've done, I guess.
Oh, okay.
2 to 3 days makes sense. I don't think it would take too long to, like, win 3 arena battles and be like, yeah, this place is cool.
I'm sure she'd be the talk of the town in a Gestrel camp. Like, some new human comes in and beats all her asses. Like, woo!
Yeah.
We love her.
I was thinking more like a week, but that's basically the same thing. Like, it's been a little while, but not very long.
Yeah, it is nice that they get so excited about like, ooh, expeditioners. Like, you guys normally die so fast out here. Like, hey, look at you. You're still around. But I love, too, when they ask, like, hey, Ciel, like, what was your plan? Like, if we didn't come through, were you just going to be a champion in this arena until you go Majed? And she's like, yeah, it was kind of fun. So, yeah, I was just going to spend my last couple of years doing that. But yeah,
why not?
Yeah, why not? Mr. Cobble writes in, I don't understand this reference. They say, I love how this game balances a sometimes extremely somber emotional tone with complete silliness, like having one of those guys just straight up reenacting the "This is fine" House on Fire meme. Was that in the village?
Yeah,
was there a guy?
the little dog sitting in the chair while the house is burning. There's just a Gestrel doing that.
Oh gosh, I must have missed that one.
I missed that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure someone wrote in about this. The Let's Dance guy.
No, please.
Oh,
he's right in front of the stage.
It's literally, you talk to him and it's like, Gustav, ... Gestrel, ... Gustav, ... Gestrel, let's dance. And then he just cuts into like a breakdancing animation and a weird song starts playing.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah, every game needs a little arena like this. I love it. I love, like, did you guys try and fight the kind of queen of the arena lady?
Oh my god!
And she just
once.
annihilated
Takes you out in
Mind.
one hit.
I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, Golgra is her name. Let's see. Yeah, I like that the password was it get out of my way? that was the secret password you needed the entire time. It's like, okay. I like too. Like is maybe not the right word, but on the way here when you're going up to the ancient sanctuary and whatnot, up there with the freaky buddy of Mael is just there was like the little boy NPC that just like had the missing face.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I miss laughing with everybody. And then he says the scariest stuff of like, I forgot my friends' names. So that, Haley, what do you think is going on with this world? Because there's like different types of corpses and ghosts. Like, what was that guy? What are Nevrons? What is happening in this place?
Nevrons are from the paintress, I know, because she painted them, right? Like that's the whole. They've said that a few times. So,
Yes.
So
The ones that you talk to, talk about
Yeah.
having been painted by the painter.
And then there was something too as well about like the painters give you life. The painters gives you life, but then there's like the regent or something sustains you. One of them said something like that.
They're definitely like hamster feed dropping us lore for like one interaction at a time, which I like when games do that because then it's easier to patch it all together yourself. The ghost boy, I gotta say, I was like, what the hell? That's when I kind of just was like, I'm gonna pretend I didn't just see that. And I just kept playing the game. I low-key forgot about him until you just mentioned him again.
Yeah. Then they're already kind of planting those seeds too, which it feels like kind of the layup, but I trust this game to be more interesting than this basic idea when Lune's like, oh my gosh, look, the Nevrons are building something. Like they're so much more sophisticated than we thought. When there's that one in the cave with its back turned to you or whatever. I don't know. Kelsey, are you interested in the society of the Nevrons or the culture of the Nevrons, like what they're teasing of just like they're more complicated than we realize? Or is that just the beat we need to understand and that's about it?
I mean, I think that it is all connected to, again, my current thesis is it's all connected to there being sort of a cycle of death and rebirth and everything and of the same stuff repeating. But I think those play a role in that, maybe like rebuilding things after they fall. I don't know exactly yet, but yeah, I mean, it does. I'm glad that it is a lot more interesting than the paintress made some enemies out in the field for you and you whack them. Like, it's clearly going to be something more interesting than that.
Is the fact that gestrels are paintbrushes anything? Like, maybe they're
Everything's
immune
paint.
to her? So, because they're a tool and not
No,
like a
because
creation?
they've said that the Nevrons have attacked the village and stuff before, too.
Okay.
And even the...
But I think that's just an everything is paint related thing.
I thought it was interesting where they mentioned like, oh, the old guy, like, yeah, he came through and killed almost everybody once. I was like, oh, okay, like you're just
Like,
used to
thank
this.
God we figured it out or something, yeah.
Right. Let's see. Should we get to this cutscene after we leave the town? So if you didn't get to this part, if you stopped right when you got CL, I totally understand because we didn't tell you to keep playing to the camp. Yes. So we're going to jump ahead. We'll have timestamps for right now for when we're done talking about this little cutscene after you go back out to the world map. Because I got her and I was like, okay, I want to just like I want to go mop up some stuff on the world map with CL out there. And then that cutscene triggered. I was like, oh God, it's too juicy not to talk about. But in this cutscene, we kind of get the name for the chapter, which I'm confused because it was like prologue. Then did it say Act 1 Gustav in the beginning? Or did it just say the name of the chapter was Gustav? Because in the next chapter title we see, it doesn't say chapter 2 or anything. It just says Mael's Nightmare is the chapter. But that popped up like before we even got Mael, maybe.
I can't remember when it says it, but maybe when he wakes up, it does say Act 1 Gustav.
Okay.
And I don't think that Mael's Nightmare means it's no longer Act 1. I think it is a weird just demarcation of like, this is a thing that's happening right now.
Okay, but it happened. I think they put that title up before, like a bit more, ways before the nightmare actually occurs, I believe. But correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. But in this, it goes 4:3 aspect ratio, and Mael encounters the old man with gray hair, which I love because there's that scene, which is very good, earlier where Gustav is like, hey, Mael, if you see that guy, run. Like, I'm going to be taking off running and you need to run as well. Like, don't try and fight that guy. It's got to go. And then she has this vision, which is very real to her in this nightmare, where she sees the old man again and she tries to attack him at the end. Like, she just does the complete opposite of what Gustav advised her. But it is an odd one where there is a lady with a mask named Alicia and the old man's like, I told you to stay at home.
Looks like Mael.
Okay. All right. They say, I told you to stay home. I mean, her name's Alicia, but sure.
Wouldn't you change the name to make it not obvious?
I suppose. They say, it's not good for you to see this, is what he tells Alicia as she's interacting with Mael there. And then the old man says, it's her fault and she doesn't even know it, but you can't be here. And then he's like, take your friends and go home. This is your only warning. And that's that cryptic tease. But it's the big crux of it is the idea of like, this is all Mael's fault somehow. And she's making it worse for even attempting to go on this expedition. What that means.
Maybe Gustav, maybe she dies. And then that's future Gustav being like, it's your fault for coming here and dying. And I'm mad at you in the past because I miss you.
That's interesting. But if we're not locked into this whole idea that it's them, which I don't know if I am.
I think it is. I think
you think it is.
It is. It's got to be. I mean, I obviously don't know, but like, I do think that this is. I think that again, it's a cycle. I think that is a Gustav and Mael, and that is the version of them in the past that has, they're clearly trying to stop people from coming and stopping trying to stop the paintress, because whatever that is, like, this is the most correct version of the world that we can make right now. And, Mael is the one that's going to set off a worse version of it or something like that. But
right.
I think
that's my current theory.
Like, who's the curator then helping her? Like wanting her to be there and get stronger and like making her practice her fighting and stuff. Like, another version of Gustav who lost his face. Everyone's Gustav.
Well, are the ghost figures, like the curator and the little freaky boy, are they in a different kind of ecosystem?
Maybe.
Or they're also people from the past, and there's two ways of like surviving this long, and one of them involves losing your face. I don't know.
Getting your face kicked in?
Maybe if you don't have a face, the paintress thinks you're ugly and doesn't want to paint you away.
It could be something like that, yeah.
So face removal surgery.
Yeah. It's a really good premise. It's a really good hook to have that idea of like, Mael, it's all your fault. And just having her try to deal with that. And I like the idea of them waking up and Lune being like, give me the details. What did he say? What did he say? What did he say? And she's like,
very practical.
I love that scene because it's just the like, no character is wrong here.
Yeah.
Lune is not wrong at all for being like, this seems huge. We need to know more. And also Ciel and Gustav are not wrong for being like, she maybe just had a psychotic break. Can you give her a little space?
But it's also, I will just say that having everyone in the baguette outfit in this scene totally ruined it.
So, I mean, it gives credence to the idea, or just it sheds more light on the world for like the fact that a vision is seen. It's like, hey, she just had a nightmare. Gustav said he was having nightmares. Maybe he's going to reveal what he was seeing later or something. We're only seeing Mael's nightmares, but just that the fact that a scientist like Lune, or mathematician, whatever she is, right, that she is so compelled, is that just the state of the world? Is visions and nightmares are incredibly important, or are they just grasping at straws? And so when they're in a fantastical place, and Mael says, the old man talked to me, that they're just like latching onto that as something.
I think the fact that she was awake and she was like, I just had a conversation with the man.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They were like, oh, he telepathically talked to her just now. And they just thematically called it a nightmare because that was the vibe.
Right. Do you all think we are destroying the paintress at the end of this game?
I bet she's a G and she's like just trying to do her best to keep things together and has to paint or something.
She's like, I heard you guys. I actually am sad. Thank you for noticing.
And then there'll be like some dude behind her who's like, you killed my wife. You're boned. And we'll just implode the world. I don't know. We said that was your last chance to live. Now you just die for no reason. I don't know.
Yeah, it does seem like, I like that idea of we don't understand this whole world outside of Lumiere. And so we're not actually going to kill the paintress. I mean, it cannot be that simple. And I do like the idea of Gustav dying. So it's like, I think the cycle is going to have to continue and we'll understand why it's important. But then, Kelsey, will the old man join your team? Will you fight with the old man at some point in this game?
Fight alongside him?
Yeah.
Yes, but not as a permanent party member. Is my
It's going to be like one sequence where you fight with him?
Yes.
One big moment. The paintress fight, maybe.
Yeah. Nothing's better
Something
than...
else. You eventually learned some terrible secret about this world that flips it on its head, and you join him for a fight, but ultimately he's still your enemy. That's my...
Yeah. There's nothing better than playing an RPG and not knowing who the party members are. I saw a bunch of trailers, in the build up of the marketing for this game and stuff, but I haven't gone back to look at anything and really analyze it. And anytime there's like a group shot of the characters, like I always look away because like it's so fun to be surprised by like, oh, is it going to be this person, this person? Like when I was in the Just Roll Arena, I was like, okay, I think you get some little freak on your team. That's all I remember. I didn't remember if it was a Just Roll or what. And I was like, I think that's going to be the big finale. Is it's going to be a freaky Just Roll.
Her name is CL, Ben.
No, but then it turns out he was a human MCL. It's like, okay, well, I thought I could have sworn there was a little freak on your team at some point from the Xbox Developer Direct. But okay, any other predictions for what was going on there? Old man, he's taking a look at his life. He's a lot like Gustav was.
Maybe I don't know. I love that I don't know because there's no other media that has a big mountain with an old lady painting a number on it and everyone dies.
We all know the tropes attached to this one.
It's not like Nathan Drake. Will Nathan Drake find the artifact? I think he'll fight a guy at the end who's tough. Oh, good call. I don't know what the hell's going to happen here. This is crazy.
That's what makes it exciting for sure. Brett, DKMY says, it's a small thing, but I love that the prompt to advance after the battles is just "we continue." It seems to be a motto that comes up often in the game, and I love that they insert it into the actual battles thematically as well.
Thematic cohesiveness.
That is exactly it. Let's see. Dan A. I love the way this game approaches items. The decision to make the healing items, revive, etc. is refillable rather than single-use consumable items is fantastic game design. That way, there's no way to run out of money and screw yourself over, and conversely, you can't just stock up on 100 items and brute force your way through the battle either. Also, giving you essentially Estus Flask outside of battles, another welcome element that they borrowed from the Souls games. That does feel so nice, just to have a basically tent from other RPGs whenever you need it, just to pop it and be like, okay, if I see the flag, I'm going to get healed, or I can just heal right now and stay out battling, and I can grind out here all day, and it's perfect. Great system.
Just do that.
Learning to heal more in between for sure, and just use the items up.
Yeah.
Did you guys do that little treasure chest puzzle where you have to zap the 3 thingies?
The God of War thingy, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's the only... I think that might be the only use of you being able to shoot in the overworld.
Oh.
Because it doesn't do anything to enemies.
Yeah, I've tried shooting the enemies and it stuns them for a split second, but not long enough for that to be giving yourself an opening for that, opening attack thing. I have no idea what that is for.
Just for
other than playing the God of War puzzles.
Other than that.
Yeah. Let's see, Brandon G. It might be corny of me, but I love when the game refers to your group as Expedition 33 when you do a group counter. Just a reminder that you're a team and you're all in this together. Yeah, that group counter is very satisfying. And that's just when there's a group attack, right? And you hit the parry, that's when that triggers?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Have any of you... Did any of you play with CL enough, or 4 members in your party, to have a squad wipe?
Yeah. And it's asked to do the backup team. Yeah, and I was like, I don't think I want to do the backup squad. I don't like that.
Okay, but you saw what it said? Because it's
backup squad? I forget how it phrased it.
No, it says, so it's your squad wipes, and then it says send up backup. But then the last person who wasn't in your party walks on, and it says the last stand of Expedition 33. And it says that on screen. And it was just, when I first saw that, I was like, oh my God, that's so
great.
Cool.
That is awesome. This is it. Better learn to parry, Kelsey. Devin B. Anyone else find Gustav's head to be comically large?
Let me look at this.
And
they're a little... Yes. There's some small uncanny valley vibes in the character design. I think actually Sophie was the worst. She was
Her eyes are huge.
She was just too small for the rest. Like, the rest of her was too small compared to her face.
They got big old heads.
Is that really a thing? Because people are freaking out about it.
But they feel like they have big heads to me.
Simon Case says, can we please discuss what I'll be coining as Big Head Gate? I thought I was going crazy that no one's talking about the giant heads in this game.
It's because he has such a little itty bitty waist. He's a skinny little Twiggy.
But he's got that round thing on her face.
But he's got that big old face.
Yeah.
I see you, big face, with the skinny waist. Maybe that's what it is.
Okay, Tanner, this is inappropriate. Do you think the citizens of Lumiere tried to cheat the Gommage by getting a little work done? Surely Sophie had fillers. What's up with some of these faces? How dare you, Tanner?
I just had a question. What would the painters do if someone was 33 and pregnant?
Oh, that baby's coming out.
We can't answer that.
JDog410, did you know that you can pause the cutscenes by pressing X or A? I did not. This game has been stingy with the pause. With the old.
I accidentally did that once.
Okay. That's great to know.
Be careful when you're coming out of it, because I'm pretty sure you press A to pause, but then if you hold A, it skips it. Mm-hmm. So it's not the same button to pause and unpause. You have to press like B or circle to unpause. So it's a little. It's just like I almost skipped a cutscene once, and I was shocked.
The one where Sophie Gommage is. You're like, what's happening? What's the most important one?
L1 is a toggle for a light jog. I'm not using that at all. Are you guys? RMV, I read about it.
Light jog when I could be floating? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I'm floating with my grippers.
All right, if you're not floating with the grippers, that's one thing. Blunker says, I found a hidden arena with 4 of the Gestrels to fight. I was certainly underleveled, but I loved just grinding it out until I could beat it with perfect parries. And then Nexicron says, I also found this arena and I loved it. I also wanted to publicly apologize to Dominique Giant Feet for the number of times I fought him again to get my characters up to level 20. So there's a little Gestrel arena with like really tough enemies.
Oh, where is this?
Yeah, where is it?
And they all have it's like it's kind of around the back of like a yellow forest. It's kind of the door to it is facing south, so you kind of have to go north for a while and then turn around. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, one of the guys' names was like Pliny Tiny Head or something. they all had silly names,
and that was especially offensive to Gustav because of his giant melon.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy's gotta go. Let's see. Donnie Danica says plenty of people's favorite character so far seems to be Lune. I don't know everyone else's reason for this, but for me it's because her basic attack is a drop kick that triggers a nuclear bomb. Yeah, she's pretty sweet. Are you still... I guess I'm worried about spoilers. These characters, let's just say Lune and Mael, did you use them a majority of the game, Jacob? Or did you rotate a lot?
I really rotated through, like, even though the levels don't, or the characters don't level, as much if they're not in the party, I ended with everyone at, like, basically the same level. Because I kept them all in pretty much the whole time. So
we should learn this new lady's moves and understand her weird.
Yeah, and
Twilight
also
cards.
CL is like really you just use an attack that gives someone a stack of cards, and then the next turn use an attack that consumes that stack of cards to do damage. Like they make it sound more complicated than it is, but it's basically you use a sun card and then you use a moon card. And then you're in Twilight, and then you do more damage.
Okay.
It's like once you start using it, it makes more sense.
I am curious if they'd ever do like a Game of the Year edition for this, or the equivalent of like a Persona 3 Reload, maybe not full remake stuff, but just like if they'd ever give another pass at this game in some way. Like I guess we haven't really talked about this too much. I am loving this game a lot. But, I wonder if they'd ever do that version that would have like, okay, based on feedback, we've cleaned up UI a little bit. We've added a mini map. We've maybe added tutorials in a different way, or made the tutorials accessible again in a more compelling way than just kind of that little cheat sheet that is pretty light on details. Like, do you feel like the game is kind of hungry for that 1.25 edition?
Sometimes studios just do a update, like smaller studios, just do an update rollout and just say, we added the things that you wanted, because they already have a publisher who's handling all that other stuff and they don't want to do a whole new agreement with them, maybe, for like a remake.
If not that, someone's going to make a mod for putting a freaking mini-map.
That'd be interesting.
But then they have to make art assets for the game, which is kind of interesting. Like make their own mini map.
Yeah.
I'll say I played the whole thing without any UI or quest markers or any like walkthroughs because they didn't exist at the time.
Yeah.
And like you can do it and it's fun. You know, the navigation issues within the small levels, like I didn't struggle with that, but that seems like a bummer, and I won't claim that it makes the game more fun. But like,
I can't relate. I've got a great sense of direction.
Not to mention my parents.
I admire their adherence to not having stuff, you know, that you have to not having quest lists, not having icons, not having you know, like objective markers.
Yeah, I mean, I do mostly think that is cool. I think it's cool that they, you know, they say it with their whole chest. They're like, this is on purpose. We don't want a mini map. We don't want quest markers. Like, we want you to just feel immersed in the world. And I respect that. And I just think that if you're going to do that, you need to make direction. Like, you need to just be
More
better at
little
making landmarks. Yeah, better at making
things. Like not just
I probably need big.
Check out those
things.
lanterns. Like, there are small things. There are lights that point you in the right direction.
But what if there was like a broken? I don't know. You know what I mean?
I got
like
an idea. What if there was like a
turn is
giant monolith with a painterest that you could see to kind of gauge your action? It's like it's the
gauge which
Matterhorn
way's
at
north.
Disneyland. Yeah, exactly. It's what you need. It's Cinderella's castle, but she
What if
paints
there
a
was
number
like
on it.
those signs at the airport? Could they just add those to all the outdoor areas?
I think they probably should. Boo writes in, says, what do you think is most likely to occur in the next 6 months? Number 1, Microsoft acquires Sandfall Interactive. Or number 2, spin-off of the Clair Obscur expanded universe.
In the next how many years?
Or 3, director announced for the film adaptation of Clair Obscur.
This could be a Netflix show in 2
Didn't
seconds.
they already?
Bumming
Wasn't
me
there
out
some
while
sort
I'm
of film
enjoying it.
announcement?
For Clair Obscur?
I thought there was.
Are
Sydney
you-
Sweeney's attached?
Yeah, exactly. Sydney Sweeney is the paintress.
Sorry,
Jojo
no.
Siwa's the best role?
Someone has like bought the rights. It doesn't mean
Okay.
that there is actually a movie being made.
I could see it. I mean, it's tearing up the sales chart. It's what an awesome. We've kind of not done just kind of the overall assessment, I guess, but like what an awesome thing out of the blue for a game so far to be so solid. And Jacob's finished it and loves it, right? And so just to have like this new developer pop up and just hit the home run out of the freaking blue. Like I am just amazed at how solid this is. This is why the game industry is fun to follow, because games like this pop up and you see trailers and you say, boy, that looks great. I hope that's good. And then it comes out and it's better than everybody imagined. Like this is super, super rare.
When this was announced, I specifically remember saying, like, this is either going to be really good or terrible.
Yeah,
I think
right.
this could go both ways. And
now I'm in a
It's
wig
really
talking
good.
about it for 12 hours with you guys.
And sleeping in the wig and wearing the wig to Starbucks. Yeah.
Wearing the wig all the time. I think this is like the silver lining of how awful the layoffs have been, is that like really talented people get to go off and make their own games and start their own studio. At least this is like not that, you know, the layoffs aren't bad, but like at least
can,
this
if they
is
can
happening.
afford to work for free like these guys did for a very long time.
Exactly. But they get the funding, you know, if they're able to say, hey, I was a X whatever, EA, Ubisoft, you know, all of these kind of studios, and I'm about to make a game and it's going to be great and I already have my team lined up. That's something, a publisher might look at that different than like somebody completely on their self potentially. And I bet we're going to see a lot more like random heavy hitters that are just like those big studio people that just get laid off and they're like, screw it. I have a game I've thought about for 10 years. I'll just make it now kind of thing.
Don't make a living game. How about that? Make a game that releases and then you can play all of it and you don't wonder when the next battle pass is.
Right. Make games.
That's crazy, Jacob.
Make games that die when they're 33 years old, the way games should be. Yeah, and you know, I am curious to learn more about the game's development. It's a lot of interviews out there with the actors, and God bless Ben Starr and the crew, but I keep seeing those pop up on my feed. I'm like, I don't care. I want to hear from the developer. Sorry. But like, I do want to know, just like that, especially with Kepler Publishing. Kepler's just on a great streak, and I'd love to learn more just about how they're supporting these creative
Are they
projects
the
like
alters
this.
too?
That's
What are they doing that's
11-bit.
coming out?
Yeah, Kepler, they just did Bionic Bay that released, but then there's another
Rematch,
thing.
right?
They did Chia. Rematch, yes, that's the one that also they're
Yeah.
doing that's on the horizon. Yeah, that seems great. Well, there we go. That is it for part 1 of the deepest dive on Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I mean, I feel like I don't have a sense of it yet. Kelsey, are you gaga for this game? Are you a wooga for this game? Are you enjoying it? Like, where's your overall level at here?
Love it. I am a huge fan of the way they're doing the storytelling. Like I said, most of my problems with this game are like deeply personal ones. They are, I have a terrible sense of direction and I can't parry. And I don't think that makes the game bad. I think that I disagree with how little they give you in terms of directions, because I don't think I'm the only one to struggle with that in a way that makes it like unenjoyable. But not knowing how to parry, I just dodge instead. And I'm building my stuff around dodges, and that's fine. And this game rules. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. Haley, final thoughts?
J'adore Clair Obscur, l'expédition 33. I love it. It's great.
She's Canadian, everybody.
Can you tell I
She's
spoke
Canadian.
French like 10 years ago and now I forget?
That's perfect. Yeah, she's being very respectful because she's Canadian. All right, that is it for the deepest dive on Clair Obscur Expedition 33. We did it. Credits rolled. No, we have 2 more of these suckers to get to. Jacob Geller and I are going to Brazil for Gamescom this entire next week. There's some travel coming up for a couple of us. And so the next stopping point is now May 16th is when we're collecting your comments on Patreon. And the stopping point for that discussion is after dealing with both axons.
Axon. AXON.
Okay.
And there might be a campfire after that. I can't quite remember, but let's just say include it. It will be very obvious what the next story thing is. Just don't do that.
Okay.
But you can continue hanging out in the open world and doing stuff.
Okay, awesome. And that should be up on YouTube and in that bonus podcast feed for Patreon supporters on probably that Monday or Tuesday after May 16th. Who can say what that is? So maybe like the 19th or 20th, it'll be up on YouTube. But thank you so much for supporting this content directly. Thank you for supporting MinnMax as an independent games media outlet. If you watched this and enjoyed it and you said, God, I'm glad someone's given this game the discussion it deserves. Again, you can help support it directly by unlocking that bonus podcast feed right in your favorite podcast app. You support us on Patreon, and then you get a secret RSS code. You put that in your favorite podcast app, and bada bang, bada boom, you have access to a ton more content from MinnMax, including Haley's podcast, Bonus Pod, the podcast versions of all the deepest dives that we've done in the past, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which we've mentioned a couple times, Chrono Trigger that we've mentioned as well, Chrono Cross we've mentioned as well. We've done a lot of RPGs and a bunch of other great games. God of War, we mentioned that. All those deepest dives as podcasts are in that bonus podcast feed. And again, if you support us at that $5 tier, if you join or upgrade to that $5 tier before Monday, May 5th, we will DM you on Steam with a code for the great game Indica from 2024. If you want to learn about the nature of man and religion, don't worship the paintress. Let's worship Satan in Indica. So learn all about it. Thanks for the support, everybody, and I hope you enjoy that game. Again, we'll message on every piece of social media when we're out of codes for Indica. But thank you so much for, supporting us and letting us give back by sharing this great indie game with you. All right, that's it. Thank you for joining us on this adventure, everybody. Be sure to check out that Discord channel. It's hopping. It's going to be the place to be until the next episode of The Deepest Dive. And that is it. And of course, we do have to do our sign off where the way they do this send off in Clair Obscur with I think it's this. Is it this or is it the fist? And then I think it's this. Okay, thanks so much, everybody. Be good, have fun, let's go. Did you know that you can double the amount of MinnMax podcasts you listen to every single week right in your favorite podcast app? All you have to do is go to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's, jump in at that $5 tier, and then you're good to go. You have the podcast version of The Deepest Dive, Max Spoilers, MinnMax Interviews, weekly access to Bonus Pod, which is our Patreon exclusive podcast. It's very good. And early and ad-free versions of the MinnMax Show podcast every single week. There's a ton of content in there, and it's a way to directly support what we do here at MinnMax.